All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and for waiting patiently, as always, for the intro to finish up. Hope everybody's doing well on this Sunday. Michael Lynch, you're saying you're guessing a 91 on Metacritic for Death Stranding 2? Unknown, yeah, I just saw that. Very interesting. Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet to have RPG progression systems. Kind of not surprising considering the way Naughty Dog's been talking about that game. See somebody saying the PS6 is not worth it. How do you know? How do you know? How much is the PS6? The Ghost of Pennsylvania says next gen doesn't start until Sony says so. Well, hope everybody's doing well on this Sunday. It's a little bit rainy outside today, so the seems kind of dark in the room. That's why. Boss is already revved up, ready to go. Muhammad says PS6 day one. Beast Mode says I never even bought a PS5. Well, today we're talking a little bit about Death Stranding 2. We're going to predict how the reviews are going to go tomorrow because the reviews are dropping tomorrow. We're also going to be talking about next gen once again because we have even more next gen leaks, and apparently Microsoft wants to get out ahead of Sony. They want to get out ahead of Sony, and we'll talk about that. Come on, boss. You're waiting for the third cat to pop out? Yeah, he's got like he's got hair all over him. He's shedding everywhere. Michael says that's not what that AMD worker I talked to a while back told me. Well, yeah, people understandably so feel as though it's too early to be talking about next gen and all that good stuff, but I don't get to decide when the rumors and the leaks come out for these next gen consoles. I think it's worth keeping in mind that as we get these different rumors and leaks regarding the PlayStation 6, that at least for the Sony side of things, that's not coming till 2027. So we still have multiple years before it's a reality. But yeah, it was funny. I I put out a video earlier talking about this, and somebody left a comment. They were like, nobody's excited for the PS6. Like, nobody's interested in buying it anytime soon. YouTubers just keep pushing this. But the real problem is the games. Where are the games? Or something like that. And I'm like, dude, the first two topics of my video talked about Death Stranding and Ghost of Yote. The first two topics of my video were talking about games, bro. I swear, man, people, I think like the idea of bringing up the PlayStation 6 just acts as like a trigger point for some people for some reason, and I don't know why. 2027 is not that far away, to be honest. I mean, it's not that far, no, but people make it sound like it's right around the corner, and I'm like, well, if it comes out, listen, if the PlayStation 6 comes out in 2027, it's not going to come out till like October, November 2027, so it's at the very, very end of the year. So I think people also need to consider that. Michael Lynch with a $5 super chat says it's definitely not too early to start talking about next gen. Back in the day, every generation was 5 years. That would put it coming out this year. And that's true. Yeah, people always bring that up. The fact that like previous generations, I mean, they were like anywhere between 5 and 7 years. And in some cases, yeah, it would be like 5 years, which is very short. And yeah, you're exactly right, Michael. That would mean we're getting the PlayStation 6 this year. But what makes some of these rumors interesting is we're hearing once again from another insider that Microsoft is planning on getting out ahead of the PlayStation 6, which I think is very interesting because we've heard this multiple times in the past few years that Microsoft wants to get out like a year in advance, ahead of the PlayStation 6. And I'm really, really curious to see if this ends up happening and how that will impact things, if it'll have any impact at all. Ray, what's going on, man? Death Stranding 2 Game of the Year? Who really wants a PS6 now when the PS5 Pro barely has any games using its power now? Hard pass. Well, to be honest, I don't think anybody would want a PS6 now. I mean, even if a PlayStation 6 was coming out right now, that would be wild. Because it's like, yeah, the PS5 Pro would have been completely pointless. Completely. Nico, thank you for that, dude. I appreciate it. You like that thumbnail, Ray? You think the PlayStation 6 would catch the next Xbox in sales in 3 months? You're probably right. You're probably right. 0 Point, you're saying check out Blood Message. Oh, I saw a little bit of that. Yeah. Looks crazy good, dude. Looks crazy good. Anthony, you're hyped for DS2? You're saying hardly any games coming in 2025 and 26 will be sparse if PS6 is 2027. The Eastern devs are cooking, bro. Guy Gravity says, I haven't been this hyped for a game since God of War Ragnarok. Man, it's crazy that God of War Ragnarok came out like almost 3 years ago, bro. Like, that's a wild thought. It feels like it was just yesterday that Ragnarok came out, man. Where's the time going? But yeah, I'm very, very excited for Death Stranding 2. I am waiting for my physical copy, so that's locked in. So I'm going to be 2 days late to it, but tomorrow we're getting the reviews of Death Stranding 2, and yeah, I'm really, really curious to see how this game reviews. More so than most games, because I was there at the review cycle for Death Stranding 1, and I remember, like, it was more divisive than expected. It didn't review poorly, but, you know, I think it was in the low 80s, which is good. You know, that's not bad at all. But it wasn't like this, like the review scores did not reflect like this true masterpiece type game that I think people were expecting from Hideo Kojima. And I'm just really curious now that more people, like there was a slow burn for Death Stranding 1, where in Death Stranding 1, it was just like, you know, at first it was like, oh yeah, it's a pretty good game. But as time went on, more and more people were like, you know what, I think this is actually an incredible game. And I kind of noticed that change. And I wonder if that's going to be reflected earlier on with Death Stranding 2, you know, right out of the gate. Well, I mean, it is worth keeping in mind that Kojima did say that Death Stranding 2, at the core of it, it's still about delivering packages and, you know, it's a delivery game. Um, but everything we've heard about people who went hands on with it, people who got to play it for 30 hours, which is crazy to think. And we're going to find out tomorrow just how far this goes. They were saying that it really picks up a lot quicker. And it's not that there's necessarily more forced action, but you can choose to make the game much more action packed based on how you choose to play it. You didn't play Death Stranding until the director's cut came out? You think playing it at 60 FPS helped you enjoy it a lot more? You wonder what's going to happen if people are expecting it to be like Metal Gear and it's something completely different. Well, yeah, I mean, I would hope by now people realize that Death Stranding is just never going to be Metal Gear. I think it will take certain aspects. Like, for example, people who previewed the game were saying that it feels a little bit more like the Phantom Pain, but not entirely. You know, it's just borrowing some mechanics and some aspects of that game design and putting it into Death Stranding, which I think will only benefit it, truthfully. Yeah. Yeah, we covered those comments from Kojima recently where he's like, "Yeah, I don't know, man. Everybody seems to like the game too much. It needs to be a little bit more divisive. I need to make it more controversial. I had to make changes." And I'm like, I don't know if bro is cooking or not. I'm a little worried, man. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be interesting. And we have Delwyn Jones with a generous super chat. Thank you so much for that, Delwyn. He says, Neil not directing the other big single player Naughty Dog game has he's mentoring developers. I'm really looking forward to it. I reckon it's Uncharted related or new IP. We know one game, Intergalactic, is going to be incredible. And the second one is going to be interesting. Well, yeah, Delwyn, we just mentioned a moment ago that apparently it was discovered through a recent job listing that Intergalactic is confirmed to have RPG systems and RPG mechanics. And this isn't like the most shocking thing, like I said earlier, because Naughty Dog went on record multiple times saying how Intergalactic is going to be their deepest gameplay loop they've ever designed. It's going to have the deepest gameplay they've ever done. And I've been telling people like to hold off judgment on this game until we see that gameplay, because something tells me that's going to be the main focus of the game and what everybody talks about. Well, I got to let Luna in real quick. But yeah, Delwyn, when it comes to the other single player Naughty Dog game, I'm really fascinated in this as well. Um, it does seem like it's a toss up between it being something Uncharted related or it being another new IP. I mean, Naughty Dog did go on record before saying that they're done with Uncharted, and so I feel like that makes it a little bit less likely that it will be Uncharted. But at the same time, the person who is directing this second single player game is the same person who directed Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. So it really is one of these situations where it's like it's a coin toss. It's 50-50. Uncharted is a massive franchise for Sony, and I could absolutely see why they would encourage Naughty Dog to continue it in some way, shape, or form. But Naughty Dog, it's worth noting, like Neil Druckmann did go on record saying he wants Naughty Dog to be an IP powerhouse. So, you hear a comment like that, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe they are going to do two new IPs. But either way, Delwyn, I appreciate your enthusiasm as always, man. You're always hype, bro, and I appreciate it. And it's going to be really interesting when we see that second game and the gameplay for Intergalactic. And we have PlayStation Pete, a member for 41 months at Play Housing Elements Plus. Thank you for that long-time support, PlayStation Pete. He says, MBG, only 4 more trophies needed for Rebirth Platinum. Yes, I graduated the PlayStation, but you can have reunions like high school. Sony, if you want people to graduate the PlayStation, you must have a showcase like 2018. And we also have Robin coming in, dropping a membership gift on you guys. Robin, thank you so much for that, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, PlayStation Pete, bro, good luck. I think you'll do it. I don't actually think you need the luck, but I'm going to say it anyway to get those last 4 trophies for Rebirth. One of the craziest platinums out there, one of the most difficult. The developer actually went on record straight up apologizing for how difficult they made it, and they said that they would never make it that difficult again. So that's definitely an impressive platinum to obtain. Now, you said E3 2018. I'm wondering if you're thinking about E3 2016. E3 2018, I think, was okay for Sony. I don't think that was like the monumental one. But I get what you're saying. If Sony, they need to recapture that magic. I don't know if they're going to. Oh, hello, Luna. What are you doing up here? And she really blends in. It's like hard to see her. Imagine if Neil Druckmann said that, you'd be screaming at him. I love Kojima, but there are some double standards. I mean, yeah, that's somewhat true, but I think the difference here is that when it comes to Kojima, it feels like, and you look at Death Stranding too, like you already kind of feel like it's hard to explain. Like Death Stranding is a game that takes itself very seriously, but at the same time is just kind of silly. It like achieves this balance of doing both at the same time, and I don't know how. And so I kind of feel like when you look at Death Stranding 2, whatever changes he could have made, it's like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know how impactful or how crazy it's going to be. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not really as attached to the characters of Death Stranding, simply put. Like, they're amazing characters. But I guess I would be more okay with Kojima doing some crazier stuff with it because it's like, oh, okay. Like I didn't expect that. But maybe that's just the nature of, the way in which that Naughty Dog versus Kojima Productions decide to tell their stories. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the way I feel about like Naughty Dog's characters in The Last of Us are probably similar to how I felt about the Metal Gear characters. We have Instant Messenger Sama. Thank you so much for the super chat, buddy, saying Neil recently said, quote, I meant what I said at the end of the Grounded 2 documentary, end quote. He is referring to part 3. And Instant Messenger Sama, is this in regards to him saying that he knows? I'm trying to remember what he said at the end of the Grounded 2 documentary. Is that where he said that he thinks there's another story to tell? There's one more story to tell in the Last of Us universe? 0 Point. Yeah, I saw that. I'm trying to avoid it because we're so close to the game actually launching. But yeah, I'm not. When it comes to Neil Druckmann and what he said about The Last of Us Part 3, I mean, it feels like he has made it pretty clear that at some point they want to. Well, I don't know. Actually, hold on. It's a bit confusing because he's said opposite things. Actually, at one point he's went on record saying, yeah, I think there's one more story to tell. I have like the idea and the concept and whatever. But then, not too long after that, he'll be like, oh, this might be it. And, it just doesn't seem like it. Like he basically just saying things that heavily insinuate that they're not doing a third one, at least not anytime soon. You think The Last of Us Part 3 won't come back around to like 2030 or 2033? I mean, I could see that. Yeah. I actually do think that's kind of realistic. I could see The Last of Us Part 3 being a game that maybe is revealed the first or second year of the PlayStation 6 being out, and it comes out within like the first couple years. I could see that because, I mean, Intergalactic is going to be what? Possibly a 2027 game. And then if they have, I don't know, the second IP or the second game, and like, is that going to be a PS6 game or is that still going to be a PS? I mean, is Naughty Dog going to close out the gen with 2 new games? Because even if they do, they're still, they're going to have to move on to the next game, which will be a PS6 game. Luna, hey, get out. She's trying to hunt for the catnip again. And we have Anime for Entertainment with a super chat. Thank you so much for that, buddy, saying, have you seen Blood Message? It's from a Chinese developer. It's literally Uncharted/Ghost set in China. I did, yeah. I watched like half the trailer and something came up and I ended up not finishing the entire trailer. But from what I've seen, yeah, it looks insanely good. And I've been seeing a ton of people talking about it. And a lot of people specifically saying that it is giving them very heavy Uncharted vibes. But it kind of looks, it's giving them Assassin's Creed vibes. And you're saying Ghost of Tsushima or Ghost of Yotei. And yeah, man, this game just came out of nowhere. And it's another Eastern developer that just looks like they're absolutely cooking up what a lot of people want, man. You're saying it's not Uncharted vibes? I mean, I've seen quite a few people say that it reminds them a little bit of Uncharted. What's up, Hey Tarnished? Yeah, it looks really good. And it's nice to see these games kind of just come out of nowhere, right? Like these AAA single-player cinematic games that are not like from Sony, but just coming out of, honestly, nowhere from random developers that you just weren't really thinking of or maybe weren't even aware of at all. It's nice to see that because it just goes to show that, like, there's a place for these games. There always has been. There always will be. They're not diminishing in any way. And we have Planet Schlorpian with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, man. He says, I got a good workout with Synth Riders, on hard mode with my MetaQuest 3 this morning. Well, good shit, Planet Schlurpian. That was difficult to say, but that's good, man. You're getting your exercise in, getting your workouts in. MetaQuest 3. Did you guys see that apparently there's going to be an Xbox branded MetaQuest coming out? Which is so random. Like, this has pretty much been confirmed. And I think it's going to be announced this week. And it's just a MetaQuest with an Xbox logo on it. I'm pretty sure that's all it is. I think that's just kind of random. It really does seem like Microsoft is starting to just kind of throw the Xbox logo around. And we have Instant Messenger Sama with another super chat. Thank you for that, buddy, saying, do you guys think Ill is going to release next year? That was the game that was shown at Summer Game Fest, correct? Instant Messenger? That first-person horror game. That looked really good. I don't know. Did it say at the end? Let me see. Let's see what it says. I love how the name of the studio is Team Clout. That's a crazy studio name, dude. So, hold on. It says, yeah, it doesn't give a date. It just says wish list now. So you can wish list it. But as of right now, there's no date. So I'm thinking there's a decent chance it could be targeting next year. I mean, it was shown at Summer Game Fest, and it was a lengthy trailer. They showed a lot of content. Yeah, not a big fan of the name of the studio, but the game looks good. The game looks good. It's your most anticipated horror game. I mean, yeah, dude. I'm ready for it. I'll play it. It looks really good. Why you're saying it's fake? I don't understand, dude. People have been saying that for a long time, that this game is fake. It's not a real game. I'm like, I don't. It seems pretty real. Thoughts on Blood of Dawnwalker? I didn't get to watch the gameplay deep dive yet, but I did see that gameplay trailer that was at the Xbox showcase, and it looks good. It looks really good. I'm actually really digging what I'm seeing. Well, Tarnished, that's why we're here to talk about games, right? That's why we're here to talk about games. It's decent, nothing special. I'm buying the physical version of Death Stranding 2. Yeah, I'm waiting for that to come. So it probably won't arrive till the 26th. Actually, let me make sure there isn't some kind of delay. Hold on. I'm going to end up finding out it's delayed by like a day or two, and then I'm going to cave and buy the digital. Let's see. It says arriving Thursday. So, all right. I mean, it's on track. So I won't be getting that 48 hours early access, and that's tough. Because it's really tempting, but I don't mind waiting 2 more days. It's not a huge deal. And when I stream on one of those days, you guys can tell me, for those of you who are playing with the 48 hours early access, you can let me know how it's going. Do I look tired today? I got enough sleep. You know what? You just reminded me. I forgot. Hold on. I forgot to get my coffee. There it is. No wonder why I was looking so sleepy. Drink a beer. What do I think the review scores will be? Well, I really have this mentality with Death Stranding 2 specifically. And I think this is applicable to most games, but I think for Death Stranding 2, this is a game that I could be wrong, but I think a lot of people are waiting for the review scores to determine if they're going to pick it up or not, if they're going to buy it, if it's going to be, a game they actually want to take a chance with. I think they're going to be waiting to see how it reviews. And I feel like this is one of those games where if it can get a 90 or higher, which I don't know if it will, that's tough. It's really tough to get a 90 or higher. And I feel like it's unlikely, considering Death Stranding 2 is still a delivery game. But if it does, I think it will translate to a lot of people being like, oh, you know what? Actually, I do need to pick this game up. I do need to play this. the funniest moment that I experienced when playing Death Stranding 1 probably was when I was just trying to cross a little river or stream, I mean, and I slipped and I had I think like 15 packages or something, and they all it was over. I'm just floating down the stream, and all my packages are gone, and I'm just like, like what just happened, you know? I do like horror games. I really do like horror games. And we have Michael Lynch with a $5 super chat. Thank you, buddy. Oh, hold on, Michael. Looks like my YouTube studio is going to crash. I'm going to give it a second. Refresh it, and I'll be able to read what you're saying. Any moment now. And there it is. Okay. Okay, let me. All right. Michael, you're saying, I like the Xbox brand. It lets me know to stay away from that product. Quality doesn't live here. Damn. Michael, being completely savage. When I see the Xbox logo, it tells me one thing. Stay away. That's crazy, bro. I mean, yeah, it is. It's really interesting to see how Microsoft is straight up just like getting ready to put the Xbox logo on anything and everything that they can. And it started with the, Xbox ROG Ally, and now it's continuing with a MetaQuest that's going to have the Xbox logo on it. And I don't think it means that Microsoft isn't going to make their own hardware anymore, but it does confirm that they're taking a very, very, very different approach with the Xbox brand starting now, going forward. And I think that this is an indication that even though they will make their own Xbox console, they're going to have a bunch of OEMs making Xbox consoles too. So you're going to have like an Asus Xbox, a Dell Xbox, an Alienware Xbox, all this different stuff. One guy was on a rock. His packages were stacked too much. Not good. And they fell into the river. Damn, dude. Boss, come over here. Come on. Don't start, dude. It's too early. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Thank you. Xbox smartphone win. Well, speaking of Xbox, we have a really interesting report. Well, not a report, it's actually a leak regarding the next gen consoles. Hold on, guys. You can't go over there. Just chill here. All right? Just chill. Boss, don't start being chaotic, bro. Corey ain't even here right now. Even though you don't like Death Stranding, you respect it because it tries to achieve something different, gameplay and design wise, or philosophy and goals. Yeah, I feel like even if Death Stranding isn't your cup of tea, you gotta respect that it tried to do something different. You know. Hold on, guys. Bro just aggressively meowed at me. Did that come through the mic? It didn't come through. Wow, that's surprising. All right, where am I at here? So talking about Microsoft and Sony, we have Kepler L2. Kepler L2 is a really well-known leaker, and one of the most reliable. He basically leaks everything regarding AMD, so he knows what's going on with the next gen consoles because they're, Sony and Microsoft are both working with AMD. And so somebody left a comment on NeoGAF and said, "Never doubt Mark Cerny. He still believes in the traditional dedicated console. The PlayStation 6 will double, triple, quadruple down on AI upscaling and ray tracing. He already hinted at that during the PS5 Pro Tech Talk." And Kepler L2 responded by saying both the PS6 and Xbox are using the same GPU architecture. So this is true for both of them. And then another commenter said, given they use the same architecture and therefore had the same earliest date constraint, how far apart do you believe the respective launches will be? Also, do you think the overall project timelines compare in terms of start date to release? And Kepler L2, and this is, I think, one of the more interesting things he actually revealed. He says, both consoles are likely 2027, but I do know, and other people like Heisenberg FX4, who's another insider, mentioned it too, that Microsoft wants to get ahead of the PlayStation 6. So 2026 could be a possible date for the next gen Xbox console, specifically given that they're releasing all their big titles like Halo, Combat Evolved Remake, Forza Horizon 6, and Gears of War E-Day. Somebody else says, is this before or after customizations? Kepler L2 replies, Microsoft and Sony vastly overstate the degree of customizations they make. Most of the time, it's re-adding features that AMD removed in recent architectures to enable backwards compatibility or removing features they don't use. In terms of actual CPU or GPU performance, it's 99% AMD's work that matters. And somebody else says, how much gains do you expect for UDNA or over RDNA 4? For those who don't know what UDNA is, it's actually the next generation beyond RDNA 4. It's what these next-gen consoles are going to be based around. And his reply says probably 20-ish percent faster for performance / CUs and around 2 times for ray tracing / AI performance. Apparently, it's not going to have 3D cache. And let me see what else he says here. So somebody else says, you mentioned that Sony's APU would be ready this year. Is it possible Sony could be trying to make a release for November 2026? Or do you think they'll do their own thing this time? I can't help but think if the tech / specs are similar or the same, they wouldn't want to give Xbox any head start with the big games. Having said that, they'll probably have a gentleman's agreement to launch at the same time like always. Kepler L2 responds, they could rush it, but there's no real reason for them to do so unless they think Xbox having potentially, I guess he meant to say having potentially a year better performance on GTA 6 is a big deal. So, got to ask you guys, what are we thinking about this? What do we think about the idea that Microsoft is going to attempt to get the next generation Xbox out there before the PlayStation 6? Do we think this is going to make any significant difference? Is it going to have any meaningful impact? What we could be looking at is a November 2026 release for this next generation Xbox, and the PlayStation 6 may be nowhere to be found. How does that look? How does that work? I mean, could it really benefit Microsoft at this point? You think it's too late for Xbox? I do wonder how Sony would handle that. I think I'm more inclined to think that Sony actually wouldn't really care. I mean, I think they would care. Like, they would have to pay attention. Like, okay, we got to see what's going on. We got to see if this is going to do anything. Is this something that's going to really benefit the Xbox console? Or is it kind of like what somebody says, it's just too late? Well, yeah, Leo, those are the rumors that we're hearing right now is that, Microsoft has what is essentially a hybrid console. It's going to be Windows-based. It's going to have multiple storefronts like Steam, but they're going to try, I guess, to put it in a console package, if that makes sense. I don't know how they're going to do that, but they pretty much confirmed that in their recent video. And so, yeah, I don't know. You think it's going to be $1,000 plus PC? Jack, I'll be honest, I don't recall ever seeing that. Talking about a next gen Xbox coming in 2025. I don't recall ever seeing that rumor. I've seen multiple rumors in the past about 2026, but not 27. Or sorry, not 25. Why would people buy? I don't know. I don't know, man. The one major benefit that Sony would have if Microsoft were to go ahead of them is time to make changes, right? Like Sony would be able to just sit back and watch how the market reacts to everything Microsoft does, launching a next gen console so soon, it being a PC hybrid, you know, all that goes along with that. And Sony will be able to kind of identify, like, is there anything we're doing that's similar that doesn't seem to be going down well? Or is there something specifically that Microsoft is doing that is going down very well and we should maybe add to the PlayStation 6? Something along those lines. Genius, you're saying it's just going to be a PC. I won't be surprised by them mentioning console in their statement. They were just referring to PlayStation. Remember, everything is an Xbox. True. Yeah. We're at the point where there's not too great of a difference between consoles. Games like GTA 6 won't look that much better on a PS6 or the next gen Xbox. PS6 will have PSSR. Xbox will use FSR4. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Mr. B, I think that is how it's going to work. I'm thinking it's going to be FSR4 for Xbox. Let me see. Well, I don't see Sony rushing it. I don't see Sony coming out and being like, oh, well, you know, if Microsoft is dropping the next Xbox next year, then we got to do that too. No, I think Sony, honestly, they made it clear. They said, we're not following what Microsoft is doing. You know, so I'm not really viewing this from the angle of like, how will Sony react? I mean, they'll observe and, you know, take notes, of course, but if there's anything that they feel like they can learn from it, but it's really more about like, I would say if Microsoft gets like an Xbox 360 head start, you know, they have these games, but that's the thing, man. Like they mentioned, oh, they're going to have like Forza Horizon 6 and Gears of War E-Day. And it's like, are these games coming to PlayStation? Martin, yeah, I have pre-ordered Death Stranding 2. Physical version should be arriving Thursday. Let's say it's true, the next gen Xbox launching in 26. Xbox going to have 1 year power narrative. Then PS6 will reclaim that power narrative a year later and keep it for the rest of the gen. Yeah, I mean, there's so many factors here when it comes to the rumors that we're hearing about the next gen consoles. I think, I mean, for me, I am obviously significantly more interested in. Now, Boss is in here. He's lying on the other side of the room. For me, I'm significantly more interested in the PlayStation side of things, what Sony's going to do with the PS6. But there's no denying that if next year, like, yeah, that's the next Xbox. I mean, it's going to be important to cover how that goes down, just because it's like we're either going to be witnessing the true death of the Xbox console, or we're going to be seeing Microsoft somehow thread some kind of needle where it's like, wow, they're making changes with the Xbox console that nobody really expected, and it's working really well for them. If I had to put my money on it, I think Microsoft could release this next gen Xbox console next year in November. They could have a bunch of games with it. I don't think it'll make a difference. I just don't see it making a difference. I think that it will have an initial hype cycle. There will be the enthusiasts that will be there day one, and then that'll be it. And then, Xbox will, I think the next Xbox will struggle to sell the same amount of units that the Series X and S sold. I don't think I think people keep talking and fantasizing about this next generation Xbox as if it's going to be some kind of revolutionary thing that's going to be amazing. But I think they are completely forgetting, like, guys, Xbox sales have died. They have completely fallen off a cliff. Like, they pretty much stopped selling Xboxes in certain regions. I think people have this kind of, some people are a little bit deluded in this, in this regard. I'm not sure yet on that, Martin. I'm not sure yet. And I just think that, you consider that this next gen Xbox hybrid PC thing is going to be very expensive. It's going to be very expensive. By that point in time, even more Xbox games would have came to PlayStation. I still stand by, my original thought on what the next Xbox will be compared to the PlayStation 6, which is it's going to be for, I think, the real, Microsoft / Xbox enthusiast, or maybe a PC player who would like to just have like a supplemental device that, hooks up more easily to their living room, but I doubt that. I think it's just going to be for the like most hardcore dedicated Xbox players. Kepler L2 said the next Xbox will be $1,000 because of multiple storefronts. Oh, man. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked by that, truthfully. It'll be crazy to see that, but I wouldn't be shocked because I was saying that I think Microsoft wants to make a crazy powerful console, but it's going to be for like the most hardcore that's like, I will pay $1,000 for this, and Microsoft will make a good profit off of it. You're going to laugh when they rush the hardware design and they end up having another Red Ring of Death situation. Dude, that would be crazy. I don't think Microsoft could survive another Red Ring of Death situation. They got so lucky with that, man. That was bad. I mean, it was at a point where it's like 50% chance if you buy a 360, it's going to die, bro. Those are the dark times. They were the good times, but there was some darkness with it, I guess you could say. My question for Microsoft and Xbox would be how many third-party games are actually going to be play anywhere. Like, I like the showcase, but it's going to suck if I would have to buy 2 or more copies of GTA 6. Well, I mean, yeah, this is a big reason why they're trying to push the Play Anywhere initiative, but I think that, I think some people fail to see that Microsoft is in the process of exiting the console market in a sense where they're going to have hardware, but they're taking a more publisher first stance. And when you combine that, I mean, it's awkward in a way because it almost feels like we're going to be watching a third party publisher kind of making their own console. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit awkward, but like I said, I've been kind of seeing on the internet, man, that like I think some people are just maybe they just have to tell themselves this or something, but some people are hyping up this next generation Xbox hardware like it's going to be something that makes a big splash, and I'm just like I don't want to like I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but it's like there's zero indication. Dan, you haven't seen anybody? Yeah, I think about that too, and I'm like, well, maybe it's just specific people targeting me, right? Like where I see people coming out and they're like, maybe the fact that I'm even talking about it, it's just like, yeah, they're, I'm bringing in those few people that I'm talking about where they're extremely enthusiastic about it, and it's cool to see people excited about it, but yeah, I mean, I see people talking similarly about, you know, about the PS6, where they're like, who wants a PS6 right now? Well, I don't think anybody wants it now. But I think people assume that by like June, or between June and November of 2027, I think people assume that everybody's going to feel the same exact way they feel right now. And I'm like, well, that's a large chunk of time, man. That's a large chunk of time. We have Leo Jimmy with a super chat. He says, MBG money. So first, Microsoft Steam Store on their PC/Xbox. Second, all the Microsoft made games are coming to PlayStation. Third, the Master Race already has PCs stronger than NASA. What is the point of buying a new Xbox? Well, to answer your question, Leo, I think the point of it is Microsoft wants to put something out there for people who currently own an Xbox console. So that way, everything you just mentioned, right? Like if you don't want to go to PC gaming, but you also don't want to go to PlayStation, even though our games are going to be third party, right? We still have a device that may just be for you. And I do think it's kind of like what you're saying here, Leo. I mean, or what you're insinuating is that there's really not going to be many people that this device is specifically for. And yeah, I think the biggest difference between the PlayStation 6 and this next generation Xbox truly is going to be that the next generation Xbox is going to be for a minority. It's going to be a niche. It's not going to be a mass market device. I think the PlayStation 6, if I'm wrong about this, that would be quite shocking. I think the PlayStation 6 is going to still be very much so a mass market device that Sony is trying to get into tens of millions of homes. To whereas if Microsoft can only get theirs into a couple of million homes, they're fine with that, And so I don't think Microsoft is. You already see how they're beginning their marketing, right? You already see how they're beginning their marketing, and I see Digital Dude has arrived. Uh-oh. Digital Dude, I saw your post in the community tab, and you're like, yeah, I got to finish doling out that 50 bomb, bro. Oh, God. But yeah, Leo, I think it's a tough sell, and I think Microsoft doesn't care because I don't think they care if it sells or not. We also have Delwyn Jones with a super chat, and he says, if I was an Xbox fan, I wouldn't trust Microsoft Gaming after this generation. It's been chopped off massively. Phil Spencer has to step it up if he wants the pounds for next gen to be, and wants it to be as successful or more successful than this generation. I mean, Delwyn, that's what's interesting to me, man. Like, again, I don't know how much of my perception is flawed or skewed because of like random people I see on the internet where it's like they're not representative of the masses, like not even close. And Digital Dude 25 comes in and says, we're going to kick it off, bro. We're going to kick it off with a 5 bomb, 5 memberships gifted from Digital Dude.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I appreciate that support, man. Digital Dude's here to go crazy. Yeah, guys, if you want to help support the channel, consider becoming a member, dropping member gifts. Appreciate all the super chats you guys have been dropping. We're totally fan funded here. I can only do what I do because you guys make it possible. And if we hit 25 members today, we'll feed the beast or break out the catnip for them, whatever they prefer. But yeah, Delwyn, I mean, that's the thing that's weird is I see people seemingly so frustrated at the idea of the PlayStation 6 coming in 2027, and people talking about how like it feels like this gen barely begun. But I'm like, dude, if what Microsoft is going to do, if that's really how they're going to do it, I mean, yeah, bro, like they're cutting off this gen fast. And Digital Dude 25 with a second 5 bomb, 5 more memberships gifted, making it 10. No singles today, he says. We're doing 5s. We need some W's in the chat for Digital Dude.
Simply put, it's the most powerful console we've ever built.
There you go. Appropriate for the conversation. Digital Dude, thank you so much, man. I'm going to add that to the counter. And now we are sitting at 11 members, and I see that Luna has entered the domain. She's starting to, I think, pay closer attention to every time I get my voice goes up when their member gifts dropped. Oh, by the way, guys, we did a like 2.5 hour members lounge at the end of the last stream we did. So if you do get gifted a membership, or if you are a member, maybe you missed that, go check it out. We've been doing the members lounges like more spaced out, but it was a good one. It was a little bit all over the place, but that's what makes it so fun. Yeah, I mean, I think that not enough people are kind of focused in on the fact that Microsoft sold an Xbox Series X and S console, and they're seemingly getting ready to end the generation. You know, I don't say 5 years, but I mean, they're already out here talking about their next gen console. You know, like they put out a freaking video for it. So it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know how people can really feel confident in Microsoft hardware going forward. And we have Instant Messenger Sama with another super chat saying, off topic, Ninja Gaiden 4 looks great so far, but I don't think that Platinum is able to top the reception of the original, to be honest. Ninja Gaiden 1 Black, back in the day, got a 94 on Metacritic. That's crazy, dude. I didn't realize it was rated that highly. Garrett, what's going on, man? Leo, you're saying they do that all the time. I mean, yeah, I don't know that I would keep my... I don't know that I would expect Ninja Gaiden 4 to achieve a 94 on Metacritic. I mean, that'd be incredible if it was able to do that. But it still does seem like they're kind of bringing it back to a level, though, that the fans were hoping for, from what I can tell. It's a game that has, I would say, a fair amount of hype behind it. But yeah, Ninja Gaiden 1 Black, 94 Metacritic, bro. I think that might be the high watermark for that series. I don't know if they'll ever be able to surpass that. That's tough. That's really tough, dude. Getting a 94 on Metacritic today is crazy difficult. And Piper with a $5 super chat says, I think that you should really stop making the rules of what success looks like for Microsoft, because it's not what PlayStation is doing. I mean, I can agree with that, Piper. I'm not trying to necessarily make the rules per se. It's just that I think what we're going to be... Piper, let me try to explain it this way. When the next Xbox is revealed and comes out, especially if it comes out before the PlayStation 6, I'm going to be witnessing people doing exactly what you're claiming I'm doing, right? Where it's like, well, Microsoft is going to rewrite the rules of success. And it's like, well, I don't think that's what they've done. I mean, you could make an argument that Microsoft was... Let me back up. In the hardware space, they've not rewritten anything. In the publishing space, they have. And I think that's something that always kind of needs to be thrown in when we're having any type of conversations about like the next gen console war, if there's even going to be one, or, you know, whoever's involved in that to whatever capacity. Sorry, just distracted by the chat. Microsoft rewrote the rules when they were like, we're going to buy Bethesda and Activision. And that's why everybody was so terrified, because they were like, oh my God, they just bought two of the biggest publishers in the industry just like that, out of nowhere. Are they going to make their games exclusive? If they make their games exclusive, it's over. You know, like they're going to win everything now. That was the rewriting of the rules, where it's like, fundamentally Microsoft isn't doing anything different, right? They're like, no, we're going to publish video games. We're going to publish a lot of video games. But the rewriting came in the form of them being a platform holder that decided to, consume essentially like two of the biggest publishers. Like that's not something that's ever been done before. That's not something that anybody could do. None of the major platform holders could do such a thing. Microsoft was really the only one that could have their own platform and their own consoles and do something like that and make a move like that. And so you're right in a sense that like Microsoft has their own path to success in the sense that it's up to them to determine what they deem successful versus what isn't. And it is different from Sony. But I think it is worth keeping in mind that part of what Microsoft has been doing and continues to do is to try to convince certain parts of the market that the traditional way of doing things is no longer viable. And to be fair, they are betting against that. They're not hiding that. They're not being aggressive per se, where it's like, yeah, we want the traditional console model to die. But their actions basically indicate that they're expecting it to die. And that's what's interesting, because when you look at Nintendo and Sony, they're the two that stick to that model. They're the two that have been successful with that. And so it's like, place your bets, what does future success look like in this market, and how much of the traditional console model, how relevant is that to the overall success? I do agree things have changed. I do agree. And the Genius 200X with a $5 chat says it's easy for Microsoft to try and convince the landscape in rushing the generation when they have not been present in the last two. It's all fluff. Damn, bro. Damn, Genius. I feel like I feel like part of the reason I see more pushback to the PlayStation 6 and the idea of it coming in 2027 compared to like the conversations that are being had around the next Xbox is because I think a lot of people have kind of accepted that, Microsoft is kind of done in that traditional space, or at least they're going to be attempting to do something very different. And I think because it's so different, people are kind of more willing to embrace it sooner. Not embrace it, but to see it sooner, if that makes sense. Like, when I look at the PlayStation 6, I very much get the feeling that this is going to kind of be, it's going to be different, of course, but generally speaking, it's going to be, it's going to be kind of what you expect, like with the PS5, with the PS4. It's going to be a relatively traditional console generation. And I think because of that, people do feel like less of a rush, or not a rush, but just it's okay if it takes a little bit longer to get there. To whereas when you have somebody like Microsoft coming out and being like, well, we're doing a different type of device and we're doing all these different things. I think that kind of, and you also consider the fact that it seems like, the last two generations for them really have kind of collapsed on their heads. I think that just makes it easier for people to be like, okay, well, let's get a move on. If anything, it's kind of flattering to the PlayStation 5, I think, where like, I think it just goes to show that, people want to see Sony kind of support the PS5 generation more thoroughly. And I think they will. I think that's the big surprise that people are, not a surprise, but some people I think are going to have the realization that, Sony's going to heavily, heavily, heavily support the PS5 for many years to come after the PS6 comes out. I know that kind of maybe goes without saying, but I think some people like don't fully understand like how heavily it's going to be supported. And we have Delwyn Jones with another generous super chat. Thank you for that, Delwyn. What's on my screen here? He says, I wouldn't stress about when is the next PlayStation next gen coming up, to be honest, because they are cooking on our new PS6. I love the way you word that. They're cooking up our new PlayStation 6, bro. A new special handheld as well. So I can't wait to grab these two. But for now, I'm going to enjoy my PS5 Pro. 5 years have been good. I'm in complete agreement, Delwyn. I mean, to be honest, the only reason I'm still talking about the next gen stuff today is because that's when I was looking around at like any news or leaks or topics. The only other leak that I could find that was like really super relevant to the channel here is the first hour of Death Stranding gameplay, and I'm like, well, I'm not spoiling that for anybody. It's coming out in just a couple days, so I'm just gonna leave that be. I'm in agreement. I'm not stressed about the PlayStation 6 per se. I think at this point I'm just more eager to know how much different the PlayStation 6 rollout is going to look compared to not just the next generation Xbox, but even what we just saw with the Switch 2, right? I think that Sony has the potential to deliver exactly what it is I would hope for. And I think that's what it really boils down to. I guess I do get frustrated sometimes when I see certain people kind of betting against the PlayStation 6 or the way Sony's going to do it, because frankly, they're kind of betting against what I've come to love, which is, yeah, like the more traditional console generation and life cycle where, there can be an openness to it, of course, not completely or entirely, because that would defeat the whole purpose, right? It wouldn't be a closed or a traditional generation if they were to just go completely open. That's literally what we're witnessing Microsoft begin to do. And so that's what makes this tough, is that it's all a matter of like, well, is Sony competing or not? Is Microsoft competing or not? And every rumor I hear, even just the latest rumor that we're going over today where it's like, yeah, Microsoft wants to get ahead of the PlayStation 6. Like, where's that? I need to know where that's coming from, because that is antithetical to what we've been assuming this entire time, which is Microsoft isn't trying to compete with the PS6. And it's like, well, if that was true, why are we hearing rumors that they want to get out ahead of it and give themselves a head start? That sounds like competition. So I don't feel 100% convinced, I guess, is what it boils down to, Delwyn. And it's why I continue to talk about it and speculate. It's that I think Microsoft would have us believe that they have no interest in trying to take on the PlayStation 6. But every rumor and everything that comes out about the next Xbox seemingly there's like a subtext to it that's like, oh no, they're still planning on trying to compete. And I'm like, well, that's interesting, because that's kind of against even what Microsoft themselves have seemingly hinted at or said themselves. But yeah, man, Sony's got the PS6. They're going to have this handheld coming along with it. And I think Sony has the potential to, again, just roll out a relatively traditional console generation, give players a dedicated handheld like they've been asking for. And I think really the biggest question that we're not going to have an answer to for quite some time is how they're going to roll out the games. What's exclusivity look like? What's cross-gen look like? What games are they going to have ready to go for the launch? It's going to be an interesting time. But Delwyn, thank you once again for the generous super chat. We have Cupcake Bliss with another super chat saying, should Xbox/PlayStation space out their new consoles longer instead of 8, maybe 10, 12? Because the PS5 Pro came out. Is it even worth getting at this point? Well, this is something that a lot of people have been bringing up recently, and for good reason, because I get it. Like, people keep asking, why are we talking about the PS6? Why are we talking about next gen? Because, dude, the rumor mill is circulating, right? Like, it's out, it's starting to flow out, and I'm not in any rush myself. I'm not. Like, I don't need a PlayStation 6 tomorrow. I don't need it at the end of this year. I don't need it next year. 2027, if that's when it drops, that's when I'll get it. But I would assume it would be at the very end of 2027, so it would practically feel like 2028. But I'm not in a rush, because there's still so much to come and so much yet to be done for the remainder of this generation. And I think that this is how a lot of people feel. And they feel like this kind of pressure. And this is why it's going to be I keep talking about Sony's messaging behind the PlayStation 6 because the question is Sony going to create that pressure? It's like FOMO, you need to upgrade. It's next gen. Come on, like chop, get a move on or you're going to get left behind. I'm not entirely convinced that that's how they're going to position it because it's like you said, the PS5 Pro is out now. They want people to buy the Pro, obviously, but they want people to buy the base PS5. They have GTA 6 coming out that's going to sell millions of PS5s alone. The PS5 is not going anywhere. And I think, let me try to simplify it for a moment here, Cupcake Bliss. I think anybody who has that mentality of, well, I think this is way too soon for next gen. It feels like the PS5 generation barely even started. And I don't feel a need to get a PS6 at all. I think Sony's going to turn to those people and say, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. But I think as they're saying that, they're going to be marketing the hell out of the PS6 aggressively. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think Sony is going to try to make the PS6 the most appealing console they've ever developed from a marketing standpoint. I don't know how they're going to do that. That's for the marketing team to figure out. I don't get, Sony doesn't pay me, right? Like I don't work for Sony. It's not my job to figure that out. But I think they're going to try to have the most robust and enticing marketing cycle they've ever had for a console. But they're somehow going to try to ease that messaging by being like, yeah, look at how fucking amazing this is. And we know you want it because look at how amazing we're making it look. Look at everything. Look at the marketing. Look at what's in front of your face. But it's okay if you don't buy it because we're still going to be supporting PS5. But keep looking, right? Look at how crazy. Like, I feel like that's what Sony almost did this. They almost did this with the PS5 and the PS4. But you could tell Sony didn't really know what to do because they were afraid. I don't know if people noticed this, but like Jim Ryan, he had to just kind of come out and just kind of throw it out there that GT7's coming out for PS4, by the way. And this was after it was announced as a PS5 exclusive, and like they were like, oh yeah, by the way, God of War Ragnarok is PS4 too. And you could tell like they were trying to convince everybody that these were next gen only games. But they never were. Like they were games that were absolutely going to be coming to PS4. And I guess what I'm trying to say, as I just keep kind of rambling on here, is that Sony is very likely to have a much more refined and coherent message, refined and coherent messaging behind the PlayStation 6 and cross-gen, mainly because they kind of already went through that awkward phase of trying to figure out how do we market the PS5 and PS5 games, but also let people know that they're available on PS4. The Band-Aid has been ripped off. And so I think because of that, they're going to be able to kind of hone in more easily and less confusingly so, like, here's how we're doing it. And I don't think that that's necessarily going to hinder the PS6. I think people might cheer, if not cheer Sony on, be like kind of thankful of like, oh, so I don't need to upgrade right now. It's like, we really, really want you to. Hell yeah, we want you to, but it's okay if you don't. But it'd be great if you did. But it's cool. Like, I feel like that's kind of how Sony's going to do it, because that's what's going to leave everybody happy. Because you're going to have people crying. And Leo and Genius, I'm going to read your super chats in just a second, but you're going to have people, I mean, absolutely crying their eyes out when the PS6 is revealed, because they're like, no way, bro. No way. Like, it's too soon. This generation's already over. And I really think Sony is going to have to, they're going to have to calm that down. They're going to have to calm those people down. And I don't see Sony coming out and being like, yep, that's right. We don't care if you're crying your eyes out. We don't care if next gen seems too soon. We're all in with next gen, and that's it, you know? We have Leo Jimmy with a super chat. Thank you so much for the $20, dude. You're saying MBG money, Microsoft is trying to change the model because they got their ass whooped pillar to post every gen. Uncle Phil admitted to everyone that they can't compete with Sony and Nintendo. A rich kid that buys friends. Microsoft is full of crap. I mean, I have to agree with what you're saying here, Leo. I think that Microsoft, they're doing the only thing that they can do, which is when you get whooped that bad for multiple generations in a row by not just specifically Sony, but also, with the Switch, even Nintendo, um, the only thing left for them to do is to again try to change the game, like you're saying, right? They got to change. They have to try to change the model, as you put it. They do need to change the model, because if the model doesn't change, their brand's going to, it has eroded, but it's going to die. And that's why I said, like, the flipping of the script, if you will, occurred when they bought publishers. And you're saying here, like, rich kid that buys friends, Microsoft is full of crap. Yeah, it's the nature of the beast, though, right? I mean, that's the business side of it, where I don't think the way in which Microsoft handled it was the most respectable. Like, yeah, it's, oh wow, look, you bought Activision Blizzard and doubled your revenue. Now you're in second place. Like, cool. Like, I mean, from a business standpoint, it's like, do what needs to be done, and that's what they did. But from a more, enthusiast standpoint, fan standpoint, I look at it and I'm just like, well, I don't know. I mean, this is what I'm engaged with, right? Like, I'm engaged with seeing people talk about these brands and talk about Microsoft and talk about, like, oh yeah, this is why Microsoft's doing so great now, and this is, like, it's just weird, man. I don't know what to tell people, where it's like, bro, Microsoft, it's gonna be really awkward for certain groups of like Microsoft enthusiasts out there, or Xbox enthusiasts, if the PlayStation 6 comes around and just obliterates. Like, if the Switch 2 is obliterating currently. It's doing incredible. So it's already awkward for certain groups of haters out there, where they're like, Nintendo sucks. The Switch 2 sucks. This is garbage. And it's like, okay, well, everybody else is buying these products and enjoying them and having a good old time. So I don't know what to tell you. I feel like the PS6 is the next thing in their sights, where it's like, well, this is gonna, this is gonna be the worst PlayStation generation ever. Like, dude, I saw a comment on one of my recent videos where somebody was saying that they were like, it's gonna be, the PlayStation 6 is gonna be like the worst generation ever. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, something tells me that person was sitting here this whole time saying the PS5 is the worst generation, and they're not even letting the PS5 generation finish. They're already talking about how bad the PS6 generation is going to be. I'm like, people, listen. All right, this may come off a little bit fanboyish, but it just has to be said. People need to stop talking about PlayStation like they're Xbox. They really do. Like, I enjoy the conversations about both of these brands and both of these consoles and both of these platforms. But people need to stop pretending that PlayStation hasn't just fucking kicked ass, dude, for multiple generations consistently. I'm not saying you need to, cheer at that and say, yes, they're the best. Sony's the best. Like, I'm not saying you need to say that. But it's just like, people need to stop kidding themselves and making it seem like Sony has, like, fucked up beyond recognition, and they're just a failed shell of a brand anymore. And it's like, listen, if you're talking about the dude from the PS3 era that can't get over the fact that there still isn't a new Little Big Planet, no offense to that dude, but they want to use that as the reason for why Sony sucks now and why they changed. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. I get it. I want some of that stuff back too. But if, like, that's your reason for overlooking games like DS2 and Ghost of Yotei and just kind of being like, this isn't good enough, we need classic PS2, PS3 era Sony. It's like, bro, who's out here doing things the exact same way that they were 20 years ago? Nobody. Nobody. It doesn't mean we shouldn't voice that. I want to make it clear. I'm not saying those people are wrong for saying they want that to come back. We do need to send that message to Sony, and we're trying. But I'm talking more about the people who are kind of disingenuous about it, where it's like they make it seem like they make it seem like there's something wrong with the modern day PlayStation fan who enjoys what they're doing. And it's like, no, there's nothing wrong with any of those players. You know, like some people like the games that Sony's putting out just as much as they like the games that they were putting out previously. This isn't like, to me, this isn't a difficult thing to grasp, you know, but in conclusion, we need Knack 3, and until it happens, Sony absolutely sucks. I just spilled my coffee. Tyler, who are you talking to, man? Tyler, I'm seeing you going off in the chat, and I don't know who are you engaged with right now. You're saying oh wait, is it 0 point? You guys are. I swear I've been seeing you guys going back and forth. I don't know what's going on. Ghetto God, you're saying the PS5 is the worst generation by far. I'm a diehard PlayStation fan. I've had them all starting in 1994. This gen has been extremely underwhelming. That's just my opinion. And I think that's fine. You know, like I do disagree, but you're not being disrespectful about it, you know? And I think people are absolutely entitled to their opinion. You're allowed to have that opinion, you know? It's just that I guess it's just a matter of when I come across people who, you know, who don't like this generation so far. And to be clear, I do think it could be better. You know, I feel like I've always made it a point to establish that it could have been better. And sorry, Genius. I'm sorry, bro. I almost missed your super chat. Genius 200X says the real battle Microsoft is prepping for is against Valve in being the dominant PC storefront. Good luck on that. Sony will remain the lead platform. I've been seeing people talk about that, and Genius, from what I can tell, that seems to be dependent on who you ask. I've seen people say that Microsoft does not see Valve like even remotely as a threat. I've seen other people convinced that that's exactly what this is all about, that Valve is their new target and their new competition. And I'll be honest, like I don't pay close enough attention to Valve or the PC side of things in general to be able to give some kind of actual take on this. I've seen people say that after Gabe leaves this earth, Microsoft will own Valve. I've seen people say that. That's going to be an interesting thing. Bro, okay, hold on. The rolling looks awful compared to Dark Souls. They copied Dark Souls but made it worse. That's disrespect to Dark Souls. Dude, what are we talking about? I don't know what we're talking about. Oh, God of War. Okay. Okay. I just keep seeing stuff popping up in my chat. I'm like, there's conversations going on in there, and I don't know what's being discussed. Okay, they're rolling in God of War. Got it. All right. I mean, the idea of Microsoft taking on Valve. Yeah, I mean, I guess to a degree, Microsoft probably has to pay attention to Valve, right? I mean, they can't just completely ignore them. But I'm not sure that. I guess we'll find out, because here's my thing, Genius, right? Like, maybe somebody can answer this for me. If Microsoft saw Valve and Steam as like their main competition, why would they allow their storefront on their next console? I don't to me that just kind of doesn't add up or make much sense, where it's like, what I'm confused, bro. There has to be something I'm missing here. And Cupcake Bliss with another super chat. Thank you. Says, I agree with you. PlayStation has come out with great games, but I feel like some features like the adaptive feedback controller weren't in all the games like Astrobot. Your thoughts? Yeah, so I feel like that's kind of the problem with a game like Astrobot. It's not like a problem, but it creates a bit of a situation where you have Team Asobi with both Astro's Playroom and Astrobot take the DualSense to the next level. Like, I mean, you're talking about a studio that shows you just how much can be done, like to the fullest extent with the DualSense features. And they get ultra creative with it. And it's built into the game. Like the game is kind of built around that controller and that experience. And so naturally, when you talk about like a lot of other third-party games and studios and developers trying to take advantage of the DualSense, there's no chance they're going to go above and beyond anywhere near to that level. You know, they're not going to do that because, well, I mean, part of Team Asobi, and this should help explain it, part of the reason why Team Asobi did so much with the DualSense, even with Astro's Playroom, was because their team was originally tasked with like showcasing the new hardware and basically being that team that comes out and is like, we want to go 100% right out of the gate and show you like the absolute max, like max level effort of what can be done here. They did that for the DualSense and as well as the PS5 with Astro's Playroom. But prior to that, they did it with if I'm not mistaken, I think they did that with PSVR as well. And of course they just take it to a whole nother level with Astrobot, right? Or they take everything that they did with Astro's Playroom and they put it in Astrobot. So what I'm trying to say here, Cupcake Bliss, is that most third-party teams are not going to have the like them trying to push the limit of like, we can do everything. Like we're doing the most creative things with the DualSense. Most third-party teams are not going to really benefit from that. And they're going to struggle to, allocate enough time. Hold on a second. They're going to struggle to allocate enough time and resources into trying to push something like the DualSense as far as it can go and to be as creative as they possibly could be, because they're probably worried about like 4 or 5 or 6 other things that need to be done in the development pipeline of their third-party game because they're not making it exclusive. This is why when you play, I mean, even games outside of Astrobot, you play God of War, play Spider-Man, you play GT7, you're going to realize like the DualSense is utilized very, very, very well in those games compared to similar third-party games. It's not that they're not using the DualSense, they're just not using it as well. That's because those teams are focused on just making one game for one platform, that being the PS5, and they're going to take advantage of everything that one piece of hardware has to offer. So, I do suspect we will continue to see that with Team Asobi, but yeah, there's always the hope too that more. I think third-party developers did a pretty good job overall, and still do a pretty good job with the DualSense. Funny enough, credit to Microsoft, when I was playing Forza Horizon 5, they did a great job with the DualSense for that game, which was really cool to see. So, yeah. Cupcake Bliss, thank you so much for the super chat. I do appreciate that. And we have Piper with a $5 super chat saying, PlayStation 6 isn't obliterating nothing without games. They're taking 6+ years to make one game, not to mention all the canceled games. Well, we're going to find out, Piper, because I mean, I agree with your sentence that, yeah, the PlayStation 6 isn't going to do anything without games. I'll tell you right now, man, let's just say the PS6 does come out November of 2027. That would mean we're probably going to get some kind of PlayStation showcase in May or June of 2027. If Sony is going to do that, and it's like they make it clear, like this is the PS6 event that you're tuning into, I mean, I'm going to be going in with pretty much the exact same, or if not even higher expectations than what I saw with the future of games showcase that was the PS5. Because I'll tell you, that's one thing that Sony did not play around with, dude. When it came to the PS5 having a strong launch lineup, not just literally the day the console came out, but for the next year, they weren't playing around. And they had a lot of shit there. I'll tell you, they had, I mean, they kept players well fed. And I feel like the PS6 has to have the exact same, if not even more. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. You know, that's where it's like, Herman, I hope I mean, I have to imagine there's insane planning going on right now. You mean third party? You didn't mean third party partners. You mean for first party PlayStation games? No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I think Sony's not going. Some people I think have this unrealistic expectation that Sony's going to be able to somehow match like Microsoft's first party output. That's just simply not possible. Considering Microsoft has double the studios, that's not going to happen. But what I think Sony's going to need to do for the PlayStation 6 is kind of like what you're saying. I think they need to lean into quality over quantity. Like, I see people right now. There's not a whole lot of people saying this, but people right now, you know, they're like, oh, where are the games, Sony? And it's like, dude, they literally have 2 games coming. And so somebody's going to sit there and be like, well, that's not a lot of games. That's just 2 games, man. What like 2 games isn't anything. And I'm like, what are you talking? Like, maybe to you, those 2 games are probably going to be literally 2 of the best games I play for the entire year. And they're probably going to be some, you know, some of the highest, probably, like, they're probably going to have a lot of meat on the bone, too. Like, you talk about that Stranding, apparently that game's going to take about like 100 hours to complete or something, which is crazy. And, you know, you think about Ghost of Butane, it's just like, dude, I'm not saying there it wouldn't be nice to have more. I always want more. But I'm just in, like, I'll put it to you this way. If Sony comes out and they're like, we're going to have 2 first-party games at the launch of the PlayStation 6, right? But those 2 first-party games are like a Bloodborne remake and Spider-Man 3. I'm stoked. Like, I'm like, that's amazing. That's crazy good. Like, to me, it's not about that it's just 2 games. This kind of like gets into the whole, you know, how long should a game be type argument, right? Where I know I just mentioned game length, but it reminds me when Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart came out. I remember there were people complaining about that game being too short, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not worried about the length of the game. You know, like I'm worried about how good is this game going to be from start to finish, and what's the overall experience going to be like. And the experience was great. And so, you know, I don't think the PlayStation 6 could obliterate anything if Sony just came out and was like, yeah, we don't have anything ready to go. Sorry. You're just going to have to wait. At that point, don't even launch the next gen. But my expectation for Sony, to be clear, when it comes to the PlayStation 6, when they're getting ready to actually market it and like ring the bell and say it's time to watch the show, very, very high. I expect them to fucking come out swinging, not with everything, right? I'm not expecting every dream to come true, nothing like that. But I am expecting them to, you know, to do some serious damage, to be like, yeah, we're here to try to sell you a console, and we understand that the best way to do that is to show you games. They need to bring Jim Ryan back just for a moment to say, we're going to let the games do the talking. 2.0, right? Because you give Jim Ryan, you know, a lot of flack for things, but he understood that. He was correct when he said that. Now, granted, he probably didn't come up with that. That was probably the marketing team that told him to say that. But I just think that, you know, you mentioned the canceled games too, Piper. And yeah, to me, that has been the biggest thorn in Sony's side this generation. Because we could conceivably have double the output if those games were not canceled. I want to say not canceled, but were never greenlit to begin with, right? Like this is why I hope that Sony going into the PS6 generation, they know what not to do now, right? Like, listen, you have a set amount of teams that are making single player games that are going to keep, you know, well, yeah, I guess maybe double would be a bit much, but you could maybe figure like here's one, Garrett, right? And you tell me what you think of this, or all you guys can tell me what you think of this. Let's say Sony Bend never decided to make a live service game and Sony never greenlit that live service game. Let's say Sony said, no, Sony Bend, you're going to make Days Gone 2. And then this year, we were looking at Days Gone 2 as a game. Rather than Days Gone Remastered, Days Gone 2 is coming out this year. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the difference that we could have seen this generation. And I know it's like woulda, coulda, shoulda, but it's interesting to think that the assumption is that Sony won't make that kind of like bullshit mistake again, where it's like, yeah, if you just kind of stuck to your guns originally, you would have, if not Days Gone 2, a single player game from Bend, and it would have been ready to come out this year. And so we would have been looking at Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotei, and maybe Days Gone 2, right? And I mean, let's be honest, man. If a Days Gone 2 is coming out this year, this would be one of the best years ever for PlayStation, at least in my opinion. So you look at that, or you look at maybe, let's say, Naughty Dog and The Last of Us multiplayer that was canceled. They were treating that like a AAA game, dude, and they developed it for 4 years. Just replace the AAA live service with a AAA single player, and boom, we would be playing a Naughty Dog game right now. It would have been ready to go. You look at Insomniac, and Insomniac actually wasted quite a bit of time on a live service game that ended up getting canceled. Could they have had another Ratchet and Clank out, maybe? You know, I mean, these are Blue Point Games. Blue Point Games they had Demon Souls remake at the launch of the PS5, and they were also for some reason making a live service game, and that got canceled. And if that didn't happen, if they were working on another remake, we would be looking at this is where it's like, I will not deny, I will never deny that this generation could have been so much more. And it was the live service push. I understand why they did the live service push, but that's what really, I think, hurt it, in the sense that we could have had more. Maybe we should have had more. Doesn't mean that what we're getting isn't great. Like, dude, trust me. Whoever made the decision, Herman, maybe, or Jim, or both of them, that, like, regardless of how good or bad this live service goes, we got to make sure we have single player games coming. Huge shout out to whoever made that decision, because that's saving Sony, in my opinion, right now, at least for me. Because, like, if they didn't have Death Stranding 2 this year, if they didn't have Ghost of Yotei, and it was just like, sorry, guys, we really don't have anything ready this year, I'd be pissed. I think a lot of people would be pissed. I just don't like that there are people acting like that is the case. You know what I mean? Like, there are people on the internet where they're acting like these games don't exist, and they don't mean anything. And it's like, dude, speak for yourself. But I'm pretty sure both Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei, if not at least one of them, are going to be up for Game of the Year and be considered one of the top games to come out this year. Just like Astrobot was last year. And just like I saw people last year trying to pretend like Astrobot doesn't count for anything. Like, again, like, these people have to just speak for themselves, because it's like, bro, I don't know what they're talking about. Like, Astrobot was incredible. You know? Great time. Great game. Last year wasn't a good year outside of Concord, frankly. But we have, you want Mag back? Dude, I've been seeing people ask for that. That would be so interesting to see Sony try to execute on that in 2025. Because I think Mag, the problem with that is it was ahead of its time. Like, the infrastructure, I just think, wasn't really there to facilitate a massive action game. But Leo, you also have a $10 super chat here, guys. Thank you for all the super chats, by the way. I really appreciate the support. You're saying, I'm telling you, MBG Money, absolutely nothing they can do to please everybody. They will still complain no matter what. No Bloodborne remake, no Gravity Rush 3, no PS All-Stars versus Capcom. Worst gen ever. I know, man. I think a lot of the conversation, Chris, I'm sorry to hear that, bro. Uh-oh. Chris says, I've joined the chat just to let you guys know that I just rage quit Death Stranding. What happened? What went wrong, Chris? He definitely fell down a mountain or something. But yeah, Leo, I mean, that's the thing, man. I feel like it's true that Sony's never going to be able to please everybody, right? PlayStation's never going to be able to please everybody. I think the PS4 gen is the closest thing to being able to like kind of get close to that. But even then, people started complaining. What were the complaints for the PS4 gen? All these games are just the same. It's just the same AAA cinematic over the shoulder, walking games. There's just every time, man, there's just a whole new batch of complaints that it's like, give me a break. And bro, what? Dude, Silent Spartan coming in third stream in a row, dropping another 50 member gifts. What is going on?
Holy shit.
Silent Spartan with the colossal support, bro. He's got the platinum trophy already, and he's keeping it going. I need to see W's in the chat right now for Silent Spartan just coming out of nowhere, dropping from the sky, which is ironic because it looks like that's him. It looks like he's skydiving in his profile picture, and that's an accurate description. He's dropping in, bro. He's dropping in with those 50 memberships. I can't believe that. That's crazy. I'm in shock, bro. I'm in shock. That's the third stream in a row he came in and dropped 50 membership gifts on you guys. Love to see it, dude. Shit. Tactical nuke inbound. Epic. I mean, Silent Spartan has pretty much achieved legendary status here. Yeah, guys, this will be a good time for me to let you know, with another 50 members gifted, if you are in the chat right now or in the stream and you get gifted a membership, don't do it now. When this stream's finished up, we did a members lounge on, what was it? Thursday, I believe. Yeah, Thursday. We did a members lounge, 2.5 hours long. We do members content here. Prior to that members lounge, by the way, for those who are wondering what a members lounge is, I know most of you know, but just in case we have any new viewers here, it's basically like an auxiliary or supplemental members only type podcast where we talk about different things, right? It's not just gameplay related. Probably no members launch today, Garrett, but we're going to be doing one very soon. I want to see how this upcoming week goes because I know that Death Stranding's dropping. We got the Capcom event happening later in the week, and there's a crazy ass heat wave. At least where I live, there's a crazy ass heat wave coming this week. So I'm probably going to be inside even more than usual. So there should be some solid windows of opportunity to do another members lounge, or maybe, just maybe, no promises. I'm not promising anything. And that's exactly what I'm getting at here, Garrett. I'm not promising anything. I have to see how it goes, but maybe at some point before the end of the month, or the end of this week, we'll do some kind of maybe Death Stranding 2 gameplay. I don't know. I don't want to call it yet. I gotta see how I feel playing it. It's a tough one. Like, I want to do it, but it's like people want to play the game for themselves. I don't want to spoil anything, but we'll see. We got a busy week coming up. We got a really hot week, and for now, what I'll say is, if you are a member, go check the last members lounge. We did, prior to that, we did a Days Gone platinum run as well for members, so you could check that out. And bro, what? Silent Spartan comes in and drops a $100 super chat on top of just dropping 50 memberships, bro. He is going crazy out here with the support. Silent Spartan. Seriously, man, I don't even know what to say. That's insane, dude. I'm like speechless at this point. I gotta play him another soundbite.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Silent Spartan's like, this is how I share Death Stranding 2 digital with you, bro. That's crazy, Silent Spartan. Thank you so much. And he says with his $100 super chat, and if I missed a previous super chat, don't worry, I'm not gonna forget you. We're going to read that. He says, bro, get yourself the digital version so you can stay with the community. Wow. So Silent Spartan straight up dropped $100 so I could buy the digital deluxe edition of Death Stranding 2 on the beach. He's a real one. He's a real one, dude. He's like, I know you want your physical copy. I got you covered. Bro, that's crazy. I don't think I'll cancel the... No, I don't think Silent Spartan would want me to cancel the physical. I think he's dropping the 100 to basically be like, I'll cover it for you. And yeah, dude, if that's double dip for the Kojima support, man. I mean, dude, yeah, I usually on my own, I'm not a fan of the idea of double dipping, but if it's one of these things where it's like people are like, bro, I'm going to donate this money so you can get the digital version while, and still maintain your physical support. That's ideal. I mean, that's the best way. Yo, Silent Spartan, thank you so much for that, man. I'm speechless. Well, I'm clearly not speechless, but you know what I mean. I really appreciate that support. I will continue to say it as long as it remains true. I'm only able to do what I do here because of support like that. I mean, you guys were already dropping a lot of super chats throughout the stream. Digital Dude dropped some members, and then you get like big support like this that comes in out of nowhere. This is, all of it makes a big difference. So thank you so much. We are sponsorship free here, and I'm happy to remain sponsorship free as long as we can do that. I think it works out better that way. So amazing community, very generous community. You guys are the best. Yeah, I appreciate that, Spartan. I really do. So let me add that to the counter. We're actually at 61 members now. So don't know where all my cats are, but man, they've been happy recently. They're eating good, bro. And I got a couple more super chats I want to make sure I get to. And I think I also have a direct donation. So there's a couple things I still have to get to. All right, let me read the super chats first and the direct donations. Then we'll give the cats some of their treats and catnip. Titus, what's going on, man? You just missed crazy support from Silent Spartan, bro. We have Cupcake Bliss with a very generous super chat as well, and says, to add on to the other comment, games are taking 6 to 8 years to make. Do you think a company may look to AI to help shorten the development? And also, do you think the cost will go down in both creating it and how expensive those games are to make? These are good questions that you're asking, Cupcake Bliss. And I think the biggest thing here is AI. And actually, in the last members launch, we talked extensively about AI, although we didn't talk about it from a game development perspective. But we know that every major gaming company has already acknowledged that AI is going to play some kind of role in the future of their game development. They have not shied away from discussing this, but there's always like the ethical side of it, of like how far are we taking this? Right now, all these companies seem to be kind of tiptoeing, right? But I think as time goes on, and as you mentioned here, as it just becomes kind of more and more unsustainable, if that's the word we want to use, for these AAA developers to continue to like take longer and longer, because we want games to get better, right? We want these games to get better. If Mark Cerny said it himself, he was asked, why are these games taking so long? Why are developers so focused on making the biggest and best games like all the time? And he said, because that's what they want to do. That they actively choose to do that. That's what they want to do. And I think as the desire of the developer to continue to push kind of, creates more and more friction with not necessarily the desire of the publisher, but in terms of the amount of time it takes to produce as well as the amount of money, I think that's where AI is going to become more and more of a viable tool for these developers to truly help expedite the process. But obviously, everything comes with a cost, right? So we're saving money, we're saving time, we're getting games quicker. What's the cost here? the cost is human jobs, right? I mean, that's the reality. And as AI improves, and it's improving rapidly, it's improving at a pace that, frankly, is staggering. So you imagine even like 5 years from now, it's hard to imagine where AI will be. We could be looking at AI doing a third of the development or more. And that's just me throwing a number out there, but that number is probably somewhat realistic. And these companies are going to be all over that. And the real question isn't if that's going to happen, because it is. The real question is how is the gaming community, the gaming market, how are we going to react when we begin to realize that these companies are going to be coming out saying these games are going to be done sooner, they're going to be done more efficiently, and we're going to have more products for you to play, right? And we find out on the back end, like people are losing their jobs left and right, and devs are out of work. That's going to be a little bit of a conundrum. And, I don't mean to I'm not trying to sound negative when I say this. I think it's just the reality of it. I do think the reality, the overall gaming market is going to speak, and they're going to say, we're okay with this. And I know that sounds shitty because it's like, oh, what? You're cool with AI replacing people's jobs. I think for most consumers, yeah, because what does that mean for the average consumer? It means more content quicker, more games quicker, right? For the corporation, it means less overhead. It means more efficiency. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. And there's going to be some drama for sure. There's going to be some drama. Absolutely. So again, thank you for the super chat, Cupcake Bliss. We also have Planet Schlorpian with a $5 super chat saying, why did Square even bother with Xbox when everybody knows Japanese games sell like ass on Xbox? I expect the same for FF7 Remake. I think FF7 Remake will do better than 16, but by how much? I mean, I'm assuming not by that much. I don't know. Let me think about this. If I had to guess, I think it's because Square is not in a good position right now. I think Square Enix banked too hard on their exclusivity with Sony. Now, I don't know how much of that is Sony's fault. Like, I don't know how much Sony buttered them up and was like, trust us, Square. You take the bag from us, you get the exclusivity deal, you get our marketing, you're good to go. I'm not sure. I'm sure there was some of that involved. But when you consider the history of Square, they're infamous for having unrealistic expectations constantly. It's like for the past 15 years, it's just nothing ever lives up to their expectations ever. And they seemingly never readjust their expectations. It's just they keep them exactly the same, and it's just never enough. So I want to say that when you look at that history of Square, it's probably less about Sony buttering them up and just, once again, Square having unrealistic expectations about what their exclusivity is going to do, on PlayStation. When you look at that and then you see the way that they're kind of reacting, I think basically I feel like Square Enix could be that Eric Andre meme where Square shoots their own game, and then there's like, how could Sony do this to us? And I feel like that's kind of the energy they're trying to project to Xbox and Microsoft, where it's like, no, like we made a mistake. Like the exclusive, we didn't mean to. Like we're multi-platform. We love Xbox. We love it. And I think it's a little, it's a sign of a little bit of desperation where they need more people to buy their games. They need more sales, and PlayStation couldn't do it. Maybe sometimes Nintendo does it for them, but I think they're just trying to make they're really trying, I think, to get Xbox players to buy their games. But yeah, I think I don't say it's a mistake. I don't think it hurts necessarily. Like, it doesn't hurt to try, but I just think that it's like, yeah, if that's where you're going in the hopes of getting more sales, I think you're in a little bit of trouble, because that's the last place you should have to, lean on or rely on for sales. Now that, Xbox does have its rare cases, of course, but yeah, I just think the answer to the question overall, Planet Schlorpian, is I think Square Enix has been stuck in a place of just having unrealistic expectations, and it's been burning them over and over and over. And rather than readjusting those expectations, they just keep blaming everything else and just being like, yeah, it's, it's this or that or whatever. And I think it's unfortunate because I just think I think it's a bad look. It's like, why can't 3 million sales of FF16 on one console in a week? Why can't that be enough? There are studios and developers that would kill to have half that lifetime wise, Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Rebirth sales, I don't know if they were actually bad, but compared to what Square expected, they were apparently bad. So it's like, I don't know if it sold 3 million. Let me see. Rebirth sales, PS5. I don't even think we ever got numbers, dude. How many copies has Rebirth sold? I can't find any numbers for Rebirth. Yoshinori Katase said Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sales don't disappoint, but they can't be exclusive to a single console anymore. It says Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sales figures have never been revealed, but when we look at previous releases in the franchise, such as FF15, sold 5 million copies in the first 24 hours. Remake sold 3.5 in just 3 days. 16 sold 3 million in its opening week. It says all of which were timed exclusive for PlayStation consoles. The sales have not reached levels as high. Yeah, I can't find numbers anywhere, man. I don't know. I think Square, they just got to figure some stuff out, dude. I think Square Enix has been having a rough go for a while. And I just, you know what I think? And this is the last thing I'll say before I move on to the. And also Planet Schlorpian, by the way, I missed your other chat where you said, real hot where I am too. Pool will come in handy. I mean, dude, yeah, it's going to be so hot here that it's like they're just advising, like, stay inside with fans and air conditioning. Got like a major heat wave. I'm not looking forward to it. But yeah, pool would be great. The final thing I'll say about Square before moving on is I just think that the reality is they're going to have to just accept that their games are not as desirable as they think they are or as they once were. And I know that's hard. I know that's tough. And especially, when you're talking about investors and trying to grow, but the reality is the reality, man. I mean, how long can you just continue to come out and be like, yeah, our sales disappointed again, until you just got to bring it down a little bit, bring it down a little bit. 95 degrees Fahrenheit in Germany in June is insane. I mean, dude, yeah, I think it said on like, was it Tuesday? I might not even be able to stream Tuesday. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to see what's going on Tuesday. It's gonna be over 100 degrees here, and we've had some hot summers here. I don't know that we're equipped to deal with temperatures that high, though. I mean, that's crazy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, it says it's gonna feel like it's 105 degrees out or something. I'm like, what? Chris, you ready? Okay, man. Good luck. We're with you, bro. Chris is gonna reattempt his Death Stranding delivery that made him rage quit. Death Stranding is definitely a game that it can do that to you. Guy Gravity, you're saying it's gonna be 100 where you're at too. Damn. Well, Stay hydrated. I went outside before I read the rest of these super chats. I'll just say real quick. I went outside for a little bit yesterday. I know I touched grass. I was doing some yard work, and I wasn't wearing my hat, and my head got a little bit sunburnt. Not bad. I wasn't out for too long because it was scorching yesterday too. But I was like, oh, I'll get some yard work done. I don't know if Gaming Survivor's here right now. Maybe he'll listen to this later, but I saw his picture, his AI picture of my backyard, and it inspired me to go do a little bit of yard work. But yeah, man, I was only out for like an hour, and I wasn't even in the sun the entire time. I was in shade, I think, like a quarter of the time, and I got sunburned. Not bad. I've gotten bad sunburn before, but this was fine. Like, I'm probably gonna be fine by tomorrow, but it's no joke. It's no joke out there, guys. Final Fantasy Rebirth did 2 million copies on PS5. Michael Lynch with a $10 super chat. Again, if you did drop a super chat and I haven't read it yet, don't worry. I didn't miss it. I'm just running a little bit behind. He says, anybody that thinks the PS6 won't dominate is lying to themselves. Do you also think the next F-150 won't be the best-selling truck that year? Use your brain. Use your brain. I mean, I'm trying to tell him, Michael. Like, I think Sony is going to rev up the hype machine like never before with the PS6. And I could be wrong. I don't think I'm going to be, though, Michael. But I think it's easy right now for people to be like, I don't want a PS6. I don't need a PS6. Come back to me 2.5 years from now when the marketing of the PS6 is in full swing and Sony is throwing everything they have at you. Then we'll talk, right? To all the people who really think the PS6 is going to do poorly, I remember, man, like there were people. Now, granted, it wasn't exactly the same. I didn't see nearly as many people during the PS4 generation saying they weren't excited for the PS5. I will admit that. But I still do remember back in 2019 coming across people who were convinced that the PS5 was not going to be that good, that, like there wasn't going to be as much interest and all this stuff. And, to say that those people were wrong is an understatement. Now, again, I am seeing a lot more people this time around seemingly in that boat, which makes sense, but let's see. Let's see what Sony's got for us. Michael, I appreciate your enthusiasm, man. I do want to say I appreciate those of you who have that enthusiasm. I'm not necessarily saying like, oh yeah, everybody act like crazy fanboys. No, I just appreciate like-minded people. Like I appreciate that there are others out there that are. It's not just like, oh my god, I hate Sony, like Sony sucks. I hate everything they do. I appreciate that. I appreciate the nuanced conversations as well. Let me see. Will Sony get the sales record back from the Switch 2 for launch sales of the PS6? I'll tell you right now, it would be embarrassing for Nintendo if Sony did. Sony is your dad? Well, okay, Chris. I mean, that thing I said about appreciating the enthusiasm only extends so far, man. Just to answer that question, because that's an interesting one, I do not think the PS6 will be able to break the Switch 2's record. And the main reason for that is because the Switch 2 is $450, bro. Right? Is it $450? And it's $500 for the Mario Kart. Is it $500 or $550 for the bundle? Either way, the starting price is $450. I don't think there's any chance at all. It's just not possible. The PS6 cannot match that price. So I just think that it's not going to have that advantage unless Sony goes crazy and they're like, we will eat the loss. They could do that. It's unlikely, but Yeah, man. I'm of the mindset that they will be able. I think they might be able to, and this is maybe still kind of a stretch. There's just too much we don't know yet. They could break the PS5's record pretty easily, and I say that simply because. Well, hold on. What is the? Can you guys give me some numbers real quick, just so I'm the. What's the record for the PS5? A million? Right? In like 24 hours or something like that? What's the launch record for the PS5 and the Switch 2? Because I just said that they would be able to break the PS5's record. But I said that without actually having the numbers in front of me of the Switch 2. Oh yeah, Chris, I agree with that. Those are going to be the big hitters. I'm waiting to see if anybody's got those numbers for me. I mean, I could look it up. I just don't want to lose my place with the super chats. Comparing the Switch 2 and the PS5 launch is ridiculous. So 1 million over 4 days. Switch 2 got 3.5. I'm seeing a bunch of different numbers. Oh, let me see. PS5 launch record. 2 weeks after launch, Sony declared the largest launch in PlayStation history, surpassing the PlayStation 4's 2.1 million in its first 2 weeks. Oh, that's 2 weeks. The PS5 has shipped 3.4 million units in its first 4 weeks. So its first month, 3.4. Switch 2 sales data. 3.5 million in just a few days. Oh, holy shit. Wow. I didn't realize. Jesus Christ. I didn't realize the Switch was like blowing past the records that rapidly. God damn. Well, the problem I think with the PS5 is that 3.4 million was capped, bro. That was capped because people couldn't buy them. Like once they were gone, and there was no restock. So I don't know. I mean, could the PS5 have done better? It's impossible. It's, to be honest, it's simply not possible to. Yeah, it's not possible to compare. Which sucks because, man, I really wanted to see what the PS5 was going to do if it didn't hit that wall. But I think the PS6 has a good shot as long as it's not ridiculously priced. We have Novinzer with the $2 super chat. He says, can you play RDC World 1's newest video? It's so good. Novinzer, you have to tell me what it's about, dude. I don't know who this is. I'm probably not going to play it, honestly. At least not right now. Let me see. Oh shit! I never. Oh, okay. This is kind of like a. I never heard of these guys before. The title of the video, it's got 774,000 views. It was posted 1 day ago. PlayStation and Xbox after finding out the Nintendo Switch 2 sales. Maybe I'll have to react to that at the end of the stream. That actually looks pretty funny. I never heard of them before. Yeah. Namazer, thank you for informing me of this video. That clearly looks like it's going to be a good one. It's literally about what we're talking about. All right, let me read the rest of these super chats and I think I'll bring it up. We have Drive by Joe with a $2 chat saying Square is about to adopt Expedition gameplay, as they should. As they should, man. Final Fantasy 17 should be I'm assuming it's in some kind of development right now. It should be taking some notes. I don't think it should copy it. I don't know. Maybe it should. Should it just copy it completely? Would anybody really be upset about that? Maybe that's what they need. I wouldn't be opposed to it. My favorite horror game. Oh man. I mean, I love the original I mean, I don't know how much Resident Evil 2 is considered a horror game, but that game terrified me as a kid. I love Outlast. Outlast is one of my favorites. God, man. I mean, recently we were just talking about Alan Wake 2. I don't know if that's really considered I mean, it's a horror game, right? Alan Wake 2 is pretty freaky. I'd have to go back and look at all the horror games I played. But when it comes to like being scared shitless from a game, for some reason Resident Evil 2 is up there for me. Dead Space is pretty terrifying. I never played the original Dead Space. I played the remake. And it didn't freak me out as much, I guess, because I mean I was older now. When it comes to like being truly scared though, I mean, I could not play. Loved Resident Evil as a kid, but I couldn't play it. And I had to like watch other people play it, or every time I tried, I would freak out and be like, I can't do this. And we have Leo Jimmy with another super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, MBG Money, you said, am I Tom Petty for wanting the Gears plat just to rub it in? Are you Tom Petty fan? I feel like that was definitely a typo or like autocorrect or something on your phone. But you're saying, are you petty for wanting the Gears Platinum just to rub it in my Xbox friend's face? Arguing with him since the SNES versus Genesis, he makes me sick. No, Leo, I'm going to say no, considering how long this has been going on for. This is clearly something that you guys just have to take till the end. So what I say, Leo, get that Gears of War Platinum and rub it in his face. Absolutely. Rub it in his face. No mercy, bro. And Leo, thank you again for the super chat, man. I appreciate the support. We also have Michael Lynch with a $5 chat saying a heat wave for you guys is just another day for us Texans. Man up, Cupcake. Dude, yeah, I don't know if I'd survive in Texas. I mean, I can tolerate the heat once I get like somewhat adjusted to it. But in Texas, it's like hot all year round though, right, Michael? Because that's the thing I wonder about. Like where I'm at, I mean, the weather fluctuates quite dramatically. If I lived somewhere where it was hot all the time, I wonder if I'd be able to just over time get adjusted to it, get used to. Does it get really cold? I don't know. In the winter, we get down to the 40s and 50s. Okay. All right. So it's, I mean, where I'm at in winter, it can go, I mean, the middle of winter, it can go down to like, I mean, like, you know, below freezing. Sometimes, I mean, I remember there were a couple of days last year where it was like 5 degrees or something outside. But here we are, you know, a year later. Now it's going to be 100 degrees outside. I got to go somewhere where the weather's more consistent. And I have a direct donation. I want to apologize to whoever dropped the direct donation because I've been keeping you waiting. So let me catch up on that now. I'm sorry about that. I just got caught up in everything. Looks like we have 2 direct donations from Perfect Image. So again, Perfect Image, I apologize for keeping you waiting, buddy, and I really appreciate you dropping those donations. You're saying the majority of PlayStation not complaining, most play sports, GTA. So you're saying the majority of PlayStation players are not complaining. They play sports games, GTA, Call of Duty. Some dabble in first party or go to PlayStation Plus to choose a game to play. I don't understand when it comes to the PlayStation 4, it still exists because I can buy a PS4 disc and play it on the PS5. PS4 exists because it's 4K 30 FPS, HDR, and COVID happened for people. You're saying that so people had to start saving money because of that. Well, yeah, perfect image. It sounds like you dropped these chats when we were talking about, the PlayStation 6 and the idea of cross-gen with the PS5. And um I mean, what you say here, like you said the majority of PlayStation players are not complaining because the majority of PlayStation players are not necessarily like hardcore. The majority of them are playing these games, right? They're playing sports games, they're playing Call of Duty, they're playing GTA Online. Something that I actually covered in my video today was the fact that Sony revealed in their most recent earnings that the PS5 generation has been more profitable than the PS1, 2, 3, and 4 generation combined, which is crazy. Like, let that sink in for a moment. Combined. This is why when people think that like PlayStation is in some kind of trouble, it's like it is quite literally the polar opposite of that. But one of the things that some people will find disappointing, and this speaks to what you were saying, Perfect Image, is that 50% of that profit comes from live service games, specifically Fortnite, GTA Online, Call of Duty, Madden, EA Sports FC, right? Or formerly known as FIFA. Literally 50% of that profit, 50% of the money is coming from those games. And what's crazy is that Sony only gets 30% of the money that those games make. That's 30% of every microtransaction, 30% of every sale, 30% of every dollar that flows through those games on the PlayStation ecosystem, Sony gets 30% of. This is why. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They're getting 30%. So basically, 50% of that profit is coming from Sony doing nothing except just having the storefront, having the platform where a lot of people play on it and they choose to access these games on it. This is why, and I know I'm not going to go on another diatribe, but this is why I always tell people Sony is never walking away from live service games, bro. Like, that's the money that Sony's making from live service games that are not even theirs. They're never walking away from live service. But the other 50% is everything else. And, I think it just kind of speaks to what you're saying, Perfect Image. It's that people are getting more comfortable and entrenched than ever before on PlayStation. And yeah, I think for a lot of people, like, I want to know how many people are going to be buying Call of Duty Black Ops 7 on their PS4 this year. Because that kind of blew my mind. That, like, bro, this is the first time we've ever seen Call of Duty take it this far, where we are about to be 5 years into the generation, and they still have Call of Duty dropping on PS4. I mean, I don't necessarily even have a problem with it, but this is why it's like when we look ahead to the PS5 and PS6, dude, when it comes to you know, Call of Duty during that generation, you're probably going to see Call of Duty Modern Warfare 7 or some shit coming out in like 2034 or whatever, or 2033. And it's still going to be on PS5. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy, dude. Oh, yo, Gaming Survivor, what's up, man? I was saying I saw your AI generated image of my backyard, and it inspired me to go out and clean up the backyard a little bit. Just a little bit. So, yo, Corey, what's going on, man? Just in time. Yeah, it was very accurate. It was very accurate with the WD-40 and all. Bro, what was up with Mark Cerny coming through a portal, though? Like I spawned him in or some shit through a portal. It's crazy. Oh, out of the astral realm. There you go. Okay, I was wondering what that makes more sense. That definitely makes more sense. I love it. Yeah, good stuff. I knew I was going to like the community tab. I knew I was going to like it. It didn't disappoint. It isn't disappointing. That's what I should say. All right, let me see here. Yeah, so tomorrow You know, we were talking a little bit earlier about Death Stranding 2. Yeah, tomorrow the review embargo lifts for Death Stranding 2. And so we're going to be, what time does it lift though? Let me see. I'm trying to find the time. It lifts at 5 a.m. PT. So for me, that's going to be 8 in the morning. Okay, so by the time we do our stream tomorrow, we're going to have all the reviews out there for Death Stranding 2. And we'll definitely talk about that. Chris, I just watched 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. I had the Blu-rays for both. I just watched both literally the other night. Last night I saw 28 Weeks Later. The night before I watched 28 Days Later. And I did so in preparation to watch 28 Years Later. And really love those movies, man. I think I like the first one better than the second. I think I like 28 Days better than 28 Weeks. But they're both really good. They both leave you in that spot where it's like you want more. I mean, I've been hearing some good things about 28 Years Later. Garrett, you're saying you're going to look at the reviews for about 30 seconds and then turn off your internet until Thursday? Dude, you're straight up turning off your internet? You know what? I get it. I get it. I can't blame you. 28 Years Later, so different. You'll be shocked, I think. I don't think I'll be shocked, Chris. I mean, maybe I don't know. You know, because you've seen it, but I definitely get the vibe from everything regarding 28 Years Later. It's going to be very, very different from the first two movies. Because it's like, yeah, like it's 28 years, bro. You mean style? Okay. Well, I did feel like 28 Weeks Later, style wise, was very different from 28 Days, and I almost felt like 28 Weeks Later in certain shots tried to be too style. Like, I don't know. It was weird. Like 28 Weeks Later felt like it was kind of oscillating between it wanted to be a kind of not like somewhat generic like action, right? We're shooting zombies and shit, which is cool, and I loved it. But then the other half is like, no, wait though. It's more about, you know, like there's a deeper story being told there. Whereas I feel like with 28 Days Later, I mean, truthfully, there was like not really much action in 28 Days Later. But the moments where it occurred, it felt way more impactful. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm really curious, dude. I never thought we were going to get a 28 Years Later. I never thought it would happen. So, what I do know is they want to make 2 more. So, they want like another trilogy. Yeah, that's Chris, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, that's 100% the vibe I got from the trailers. And I'm super interested in it because I don't know. I'm really, really curious to see which direction it went in. Because I will say, like, I don't want to spoil anything, but again, I watched 28 Weeks Later yesterday, and I forgot because it was a while since I saw it. At the end of that movie, they tease like it's somewhat spoilers, but I don't think it'll. I mean, I don't know what it means for the upcoming movie, but at the end of 28 Weeks Later, they like basically tease that the infection went beyond, England, like it or the UK, like it went global. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm super curious though, man. Yeah. Yeah. They have 2 more movies coming out apparently. Can't wait. I hope it's good. I hope it lives up. What was the first movie? The first movie is called 28 Days Later, and then the sequel is called 28 Weeks Later. Also, fun fact, Jeremy Renner is in 28 Weeks Later, And what's interesting is I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this was like before he became a big actor. Like I think in 28, it came out in 2007. I think at that time Jeremy Renner was like really unknown, or like definitely like a small time actor at that point. But it's crazy and same thing with Cillian Murphy in 28 Days Later. He was pretty unknown too. He really like wasn't even known. So both of these movies feature like major A-list actors today that at the time were nowhere near being A-list. Jeremy Renner, toughest guy on earth. You need to catch up on movies, but you're so lazy. I mean, I hear you, man. I don't watch as many movies as I should or would like to. Yeah, I think The Hurt Locker is what really, really brought Jeremy Renner up. That was a good movie too. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. Martin, you asked me that earlier. I'm not sure, dude. I'm unsure on that right now. All right, let me see here. Xena team just posted a statement on their Discord about the rumored Xbox collaboration. Hey everyone, I just wanted to clear some confusion regarding a rumor that was recently surfaced online. The Xena team is by no means associated with nor working alongside Microsoft in any capacity. Microsoft uses their own emulation to provide backwards compatibility on Xbox One/Series consoles, and as such, has no reason to collaborate with Xena, even if they decided to bring these titles to PC. We continue to be a community-run effort that encourages and enforces legal emulation practice both in development and within the server. Huh. Wow. That rumor really seemed to have, that seems to have caused quite a bit of stir. All right. And Michael Lynch with a $2 chat saying, don't forget to watch Time to Kill. Oh, yeah. Bro, Michael, you're going to be the next Novenzer, man. There was a movie called Enemy, I think, that Novenzer wanted me to watch. It's been years now. One day. Now it's going to be you, Michael, with A Time to Kill. Oh, he's still here. He says he's never going to watch it, dude. He's never going to watch it. One day the stars will align. Here's some breaking news. Canceled Batman game featuring Damian Wayne character design surfaced showing off an older Bruce Wayne, Killer Croc, and more. Warner Bros. Canceled a Wonder Woman game and previously canceled a Batman game featuring Damian Wayne, Project Sabbath. Who was developing this? This is what I'm interested in. Codenamed Project Sabbath. It was planned to be a game set 10 years after the events of Arkham Knight, and it featured Bruce Wayne's son taking on the mantle of Batman. It would have featured an old Bruce Wayne. While Warner Bros. Hasn't announced a new Batman game yet, the company has said they are focusing on Batman. A rumor that surfaced earlier this year mentioned that Rocksteady is once again working on a new single-player Batman. So this canceled Batman game wouldn't have been theirs, right? It would have been another studio working on it. I want a Batman game, but hold the Batman. Well, dude, we were talking in our last stream about the rumor of of Sony potentially making a play for Warner Brothers Studios, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I kind of hope it happens, because I have more faith in Sony being able to properly run those studios and facilitate better games overall than WB's gaming sector as it is. You know, I think that Sony could benefit from these titles. Obviously, like they would want them. You see how closely they marketed something like Hogwarts Legacy. So I think getting a Batman game, getting just a DC property, the next Harry Potter game, which is already in development, Hogwarts Legacy 2, I think that'd be huge for PlayStation, but I also think that they could really improve those studios. I do. I think Sony could probably better manage them and better run them. So I don't know if there's any truth to that rumor, but I would not be opposed to that. I don't think there are many publishers, like video game publishers, that Sony would want to buy that I wouldn't feel nervous about, or that I wouldn't be kind of against. I think there's just an inherent danger if Sony wants to buy a publisher, if they want to buy a bunch of new studios and bring that on. There's a bunch of danger there, but I don't know. When I look at the lineup of WB games, I'm like, I think that would fit perfectly with PlayStation. I do. I don't think there's a single outlier. I mean, the only outlier maybe could be like Game of Thrones mobile game or something like that. Is it a mobile game? But outside of that, yeah, I think it could be. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, Chris. The MetaQuest Xbox edition. I don't get it. I really don't understand what does Microsoft get from this? What do they? What's in it for them? A Lego style video game, but more advanced for adults. Advanced Lego games. It's just a Quest with Game Pass and a controller. So yeah, I don't know. I don't understand, man. It's getting weird out here. Play everywhere. Digital Dude 25. He's still here, lurking in the shadows. Digital Dude 25 with the $5 chat says, wasn't there a rumor a while ago about the next Batman gaming exclusive to PlayStation? Yes. You have good memory, Digital Dude. We did cover that. I can't recall where it came from, though, but that was a rumor. Let me see if I can find it. Nine months ago, IGN reports recently surfaced information reveals that the British video game developer Rocksteady Studios is currently working on a new Batman game. The information comes from Special Nick, or Nick Baker, who states that Sony is trying to make this new Batman game an exclusive to the PlayStation platform. Okay, so it was Special Nick. I mean, this is why I think if the rumor is true that WB is trying to sell their games division or their entertainment division, I could see Sony making a play for it, man. I could, because they were already trying to make plays for apparently exclusivity with some of their games. We saw again the marketing of Hogwarts Legacy PlayStation was all over that. They got a PlayStation exclusive mission. I think this is something Sony would be ravenous about, to be honest. I think they're like, yes, we want it right now. But here's another thing that's worth noting is we have to understand that Hiroki Totoki, he is the new CEO of Sony. He has a different view of acquisition and merger than the previous leadership, Kenichiro Yoshida. Hiroki Totoki has went on record saying that he believes, now I don't know that everybody agrees with him, but he believes Sony needs more IP. PlayStation needs more IP. And he has seemingly hinted in the past that he's not against acquisition and merger if they deem it to be a strategic, acquisition that would benefit them in this regard. And I look at this and I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, Mortal Kombat, Harry Potter with Hogwarts Legacy 2, Batman game, the DC universe, the Lego games for the family side of things for kids and younger audience. Absolutely, like I'm telling you, I don't I don't know what's going to happen, but Sony really should try to make this happen if WB is actually planning on selling, because I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist to kind of see like how well each one of those franchises and how well those studios could be integrated into PlayStation, and how much Sony could, frankly, how much the PlayStation platform could benefit from it. So I'll keep you guys updated if we hear anything more. What is this? Okay, I'm gonna get that out of here. You don't like mergers, but you would rather Sony buy it than Tencent or Microsoft. Yeah, it's funny, Garrett. Like, you'll definitely have the same people be like, "I thought you guys didn't like acquisitions. I thought acquisitions are bad." And it's like, just those people are just gonna have to go, because it's like if Sony were to acquire WB Gaming's, if their gaming division, that's nothing compared to the things that Microsoft is. Like, they're just not on the same level. If any, I bet you, I bet you would be almost on the same level of like Bungie. Well, it would be a little bit bigger than that, but it's like not that much further out. I mean, you could make an argument that if Sony acquired WB Games, that would be somewhat similar to Bethesda, but I still think Bethesda is also bigger. WB is not. I mean, they have like some big properties. I just feel like they're not very big though. What I'm not the properties themselves. I just mean like their studios and just their gaming division in general. It just seems like they could be so much bigger. I just think WB has mismanaged them, and they didn't to be honest, like the fact that they closed Monolith is so sad, man. Like, if this sale does happen in the next year or two, it's so sad to think that Monolith could have been saved. Like, just imagining Sony acquiring Monolith, that would have been their savior, dude. Monolith would have thrived with PlayStation, I think. But shit happens, I guess. I cheered on the ABK acquisition. I will cheer on the WB Games acquisition. You think Sony could revive or recreate Monolith? Why do you always say this like you like acquisitions or not? Just say you like Sony buying studios but not Xbox. Well, not see, that's because that would be an untrue statement, Neutral Zone. I thought the studios that Microsoft bought in 2018 were actually genius. I don't know that it's worked out as well as we thought, but they bought Ninja Theory, they bought Undead Labs, they bought Playground Games, they bought Compulsion. And I thought those were genius acquisitions. I'm like, yes, like those make the most sense. Like, Ninja Theory was maybe the one that was a little bit out of left field, but all the other studios, they were like, to me, those acquisitions were on the same level of like Sony buying Housemarque and Sony buying Bluepoint, where it's like they worked with these studios, bring them on, But maybe I will say Compulsion and Ninja Theory were a little bit out there, but still, I think that it was modest, and it was a good string of acquisitions. And even when they bought Bethesda, I didn't really have a problem. It was a little nerve-wracking because it's like, oh shit, this got serious real quick. Like, did PlayStation just lose all Bethesda games? But I still ended up thinking, like, it makes sense. Microsoft is getting real serious about first-party output. Really, it's when Microsoft decided to purchase ABK that I was like, okay, like, all right, like this is a bit much. Now, granted, it's water under the bridge now. Everything seems to be mostly fine. I'm not. I have to say that the ABK deal worked out better for me as a PlayStation player than I thought it would. I have to admit that. Like, I'm looking forward to playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. I didn't think that was going to happen. I have to tell you, I didn't think that was going to happen. So, it's not a matter of liking or disliking acquisitions. as much as it's just being very hesitant and unsure about who's going where. And yeah, I don't trust Microsoft as much as I trust Sony with studios, but Sony has proven they're not perfect either, you know. I just trust Sony from a single player perspective where like if there are studios out there like Rocksteady. If Sony owned Rocksteady, I firmly believe that would benefit Rocksteady a lot. I do. Like, I think that Sony would make sure that their full potential is close to being realized at all times. Same thing with Avalanche, you know, making Hogwarts Legacy 2. I'm not just like, you know, I think it makes a hell of a lot more sense than Bungie, right? And Digital Dude 25 with another $5 super chat saying PlayStation 6 with Spider-Man 3 and a new Batman game. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, this is why it's interesting to hear that rumor that Sony, whether they acquired WB or not, was trying to lock down this new Batman game as an exclusive, because I think Rocksteady going back to Batman reveals they're going to go back to what they know, and it should be good, right? They're the Batman experts. It should be a good Batman game. But yeah, that's how I feel like, you know, Sony is dead serious about trying to kick down the door with the PS6 generation, where they're like, yeah, we got Spider-Man 3. We got an exclusive Batman game now. You know, I think that would go hard, man. I'd be there for it. You're saying you've been watching my content, and every time Xbox buys a studio, you say they will mess it up, but Sony will help them grow. Well, I mean, dude, I was very positive about Ninja Theory. I think I mean, granted, it's, you know, the time came and passed where Hellblade 2 released, but dude, I was very adamant about like even Undead Labs. Like, I think them being part of Microsoft could be a good thing. Give them more funding, give them more support. But yeah, I do think that Microsoft has a reputation for ruining studios as well. You know, it's I simply put, man, I have more faith in PlayStation from a managerial standpoint. And the reason I say this is because the management at Microsoft hasn't changed, which is fucking insane to me. I don't know how that's possible, but like the same people who were there at the beginning of the Xbox One generation are still here today running these studios. So it's like, you know, yeah, I don't know. It's like, I'll put it to you this way. It's like if we get another Concord from Herman Holst, it's like, yeah, I'm never going to trust Herman again, dude. Like if Fair Games is Concord number 2 or Marathon is Concord number 2, I'm never going to be able to trust Herman again. Or it's like, how could you, you know, like how, and if he didn't get fired, it'd be like, how are you not fired, bro? Like, how can this keep happening? Those situations occurred with Microsoft already. And yeah, it in my opinion, it damaged their reputation. And that's why I don't want to see it happen with Sony. But somebody at Sony seems to, at least from the single player side of things, they have some kind of, maybe it is Herman, right? Somebody understands fundamentally like what Sony needs to do from a single player perspective. And that means a lot to me. Marketing strategy, just wait. Best marketing strategy there is. We also have Jake Skew 28 with a super chat. He says that Batman game sounds like a Batman Beyond game. And June 26th is a busy day. Capcom event and Death Stranding 2. And if Sony gets WB Games, do they get the Nemesis system? I believe they would, yes. And people were talking about that. Like, how cool it would be to see. Now, I don't know if Sony, I mean, if Sony was smart, they could license it. I don't know that they would, but I'd rather see them license it than keep it to themselves. I don't like the idea of video game systems being patented, but right now we know that WB Games, the Nemesis system for them is patented. And yes, that means that no other publisher or any other developer that's not underneath WB can use it. So if Sony bought them, they would technically own that system. And that would be a hell of a thing to see if they could utilize it. The Nemesis system was very cool. It's still very cool. It's just a damn shame that like we only got 2 games that used it, and nobody else is allowed to use it, or they could get sued, right? So, you think Fair Games will likely be a Concord, but if he makes great games alongside it, I don't care. Activision should copyright a reloading mechanic. Jesus. I mean, yeah, I think that Microsoft has improved from a publishing standpoint. Like, and it's interesting because I feel like what we see from Microsoft publishing wise, it has been altered and changed ever since Microsoft got directly involved. So maybe they did help improve things a little bit. And Delwyn Jones comes in with a 50-pound super chat, bro. My God, you guys are just on fire today with the support. Seriously, thank you guys so much for the just phenomenal support you've been showing. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but goddamn, we have like one of the most generous communities seemingly on YouTube from my perspective. So thank you guys so much. And Delwyn, you're saying here, I'm a big fan of the Batman and love the Arkham series. I would be very interested to see what Sony could do with DC's games, movies, and music. I wouldn't be overly excited, but I would certainly be curious to see how they would work with studios involved. Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly in the same boat as you, Delawin, where I like the Arkham games, although I will say the last one, I think maybe the Arkham games peaked with Arkham City, right? That was the second one. And I think that Rocksteady, they kind of paved the way for like, you know, kind of like, hey, this is what like superhero games can be. I mean, like, would we see Spider-Man, Insomniac Spider-Man? Would it be the same if it wasn't for Rocksteady kind of laying that foundation a little bit of like, oh shit, like they're doing it, right? I'm a huge fan of Batman. I always have been. And I gotta say, like, just straight up, I would be stoked if Sony, it doesn't even have to be exclusive, right? Like, it's not about the exclusivity. I would be stoked if Sony got involved with a big AAA Batman game, man. Like, they're involved in the sense that, like, they're going to kind of oversee it or support it or help the studio out. And again, from like that kind of managerial standpoint, just because, again, that's an area where I trust Sony, or like, you know, it's like how I know that some people aren't excited for Wolverine anymore, but I still trust Sony with Wolverine, and that, like, I think they understand what the expectation is here for this game. I would feel pretty much the same way if we're talking about not just a Batman game, but DC games in general, like the DC universe. Sony having, see, that's what would be crazy about Sony getting Warner Brothers. If I understand this correctly, and this is where maybe I would need, we would need more detail. I don't think Sony would have to license these characters from WB. I think the idea is WB wants to sell this stuff. Like, they want to sell Batman. They want to sell the entire DC universe. They want to sell it, which is crazy because it's like, to me, that is WB, right? Like, I don't know. For as long as I've known the DC universe, they've been owned by WB. So that's what's kind of shocking. But I could see Sony being a good shepherd potentially, where, although I do want to take a step back, 50-50 maybe. Like, it's hard to say. We saw what Sony tried to do. Sony Pictures, to be fair, Sony Pictures. We saw what they tried to do with their own like Spider-Man universe with like the Rhino movie or the Craven movie, I mean, or some shit. And it's just like, and the Madam Web, and it's just like, oh my God, okay, this is an utter train wreck. So from like a Sony Picture standpoint, if they suddenly were in charge of the DC universe, I don't know how much confidence I would have. But on the gaming side of things, knowing that the people in charge of PlayStation and SIE, like they understand like this is what made Insomniac's Spider-Man universe so successful and what continues to make it successful. They're going to apply that to Wolverine, and I think they will have just a better overall understanding of like how can we make a successful DC gaming universe. And that's what would be crazy is if Sony did own the DC universe, they would be in complete control. There wouldn't be licensing between like Marvel, or like what we see between Spider-Man, with Marvel and Wolverine with Marvel, because we know that those licensing deals can be nightmarish. Those licensing deals are expensive and they put a lot of pressure on the studio, on the project. There would obviously still be pressure if Sony owned DC and wanted to make these games, but they own it. They're in complete control. They don't have to, they cut out the middleman in a sense. So I don't know. Yeah, and that's true. James Gunn, but that I'm really curious to see that Superman movie, see how that turns out. Because there's the whole Snyderverse thing, and I mean it's a whole nother. You want to talk about like people? You talk about console wars, but then you have like the DC Universe wars or whatever. It's crazy. But Delwyn, yeah, man, I'm all for it. I would be really interested to see how this would play out, but it is worth noting that, and I did mention this in the last stream, if any of the rumors about WB selling or Sony being interested in buying, if these do turn out to be true and it does happen, it's going to be years in the making. So it's kind of unfortunate that like if it were to happen, it wouldn't really mean anything until probably the beginning of next generation, because apparently WB they're separating, they're like splitting the company in two, and that's going to take about like a year, I think, to be completed. So if Sony were to agree to buy, the half that owns DC and all that and the gaming studios, that's a deal that probably wouldn't be done if it didn't run into any legal problems. Yeah, 2027 at some point, which is interesting because that seems to be when the PlayStation 6 is lined up for. So it would be, it would definitely be like a next gen move in a way. Yeah, guys, if you could do me a favor, hit that like button if you're enjoying the stream. I'd really appreciate that. Corey, saying, think Insomniac's Wolverine title will at least have a sizable chunk of the origins of Weapon X program. You would think so. That's such a major plot point for Wolverine. It would be strange if they didn't have at least something in there. But I don't know. They could take the approach of like, oh, that story was told so many times, we don't want to go do it again. I could understand that too. They kind of did that with Spider-Man. Maybe they'll take the same approach with Wolverine, but I think that's just such a cool part of Wolverine's story. 14 more member. We got Mrs. MBG causing chaos. I didn't shave my head enough. It's not recently shaved. There's not a lot of hair there. Certainly not enough. There's so little hair that I still got sunburnt, but there's enough hair that I wouldn't take my hat off. But if you guys want to, drop 14 more members so we can hit 75, I'm all for that. Sony hasn't had the best of luck buying studios. They seem to fail and close. Well, Piper, I mean, there's been Firewalk. Truthfully, it's been kind of the opposite for Sony. Not to say, listen, Sony has shut down studios. So I don't know. I don't want to be hyperbolic here. It's not the opposite, but more often than not, when Sony buys a studio, the studio usually benefits. But there are those cases where they don't. And I would say that the cases where the studio doesn't benefit, at least most recently with Firewalk, that was just Sony being stupid. Flat out. Like I don't know why they bought that studio. And they got burned. They took a chance, they took a risk, and they got severely burned, and they burned the entire studio as well, because Sony usually only buy studios that they have a history with, that they've worked with. And you know, them buying Firewalk when this team has never even made a video game before is just like crazy risky. And you know, I went in with an extremely optimistic attitude, and God, I realized very quickly just how, you know, how foolish that was, how misguided my optimism was, where it's like, dude, you are not ready for how bad this is going to be. So no studio is safe, technically, right? Whether they're independent or owned or otherwise, no studio is safe. But when it comes to Sony acquiring single player studios, that's where my faith goes. Yeah, I mean, Bungie, dude, like, I don't have faith in Bungie. I don't have faith in Bungie. I don't have faith in Sony being able to turn Bungie around because Sony doesn't have experience managing a studio like Bungie. Now, maybe they can learn and figure it out, but Sony's experience is with managing AAA single-player development studios. That's their experience. And that's why I feel like when we heard that Blue Point was working on a live service game, I'm like, what? Why? Yeah, it was like Helldivers out there, Gaming Survivor. The famous Arabic insider Omar Amouadi, that sounds right, reported / hinted that there will be 2 PS5 first-party games coming to Switch 2. Oh, shit. Which games are we thinking? This was something we speculated that Sony could be getting ready to do. But what games? Death Stranding? Well, Tarnished, can you tell me, did he explicitly say first-party games? Did he say exclusives or first-party? Because there is a difference. Sony has many exclusive games or like console exclusives, but are not first-party. Yo, you think Helldivers 2 could be one of them? God of War? LFG Studios' new game? Oh, yeah, I could see that. Oh, that would actually make a ton of sense. Ratchet and Astrobot. I think Ratchet could work. I'm not sure about Astrobot. It's Stellar Blade. Oh. Stellar Blade and Death Stranding? Well, the interesting thing about Death Stranding is, you know, that's a Kojima thing at that point. Sony doesn't own the Death Stranding IP. And I'm assuming it would be Death Stranding 1, certainly not 2. Stellar Blade is another one. I don't think so. Yeah, Sony doesn't own the Stellar Blade IP either. And yeah, both of those games, you know, were viewed as PlayStation exclusives. I mean, Stellar Blade still kind of is, but Rise of the Ronin, yeah, I don't know. I think like that's the thing when you hear first party, people assume like God of War or Horizon or something. But I don't know. I think it is overall more likely to be one of these partner games. But it could, who knows? It could be. Maybe it's like, yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn on the Switch. I don't know. Crazier things have happened. Right? All right. Where are we at here? So, oh, wow. We're about to hit the 3-hour mark. I didn't realize we were streaming for that long. Death Stranding runs on PS4 and iPhones. Hitman on Switch was running at 20 frames. Sheesh. It's Lego Horizon. It's already there, bro. Oh, wait. No, it's not. Oh, my God. Wait. Yeah, hold on. Lego Horizon is actually just on the Switch 1. Yo, that would be so funny if that's the game. Well, I don't remember where this came from, but there was a rumor like early this year that said that Lego Horizon was going to be announced for Xbox, and it just like never was. Okay. Where was this at? Hold on, guys. Okay. Sorry. Head back to the chat. Astrobot gets launched from a green pipe. Yeah, I saw that. The first hour of Death Stranding 2 leaked out. I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna bother. I mean, we're so close. We're so close. I'm just gonna wait. And honestly, like, even if we were still like a week or two out, I wouldn't. Although I did watch that stream that Kojima hosted, or Jeff Keighley hosted with Kojima, and he showed, I think, like a part of the opening of the game, not the first hour, but one of the first sections. Oh, they took the leak down. You watched it. Okay. I mean, I'm assuming there aren't really any major spoilers. It's like the first hour, you know? Yeah, I thought Metal Gear Delta was going to get announced for the Switch too, but it never did. I mean, we hear these rumors, and sometimes they just don't turn out to be true. First hour is mostly cutscenes. In a Kojima game? No. It can't be.
Hey guys, it's Boss here again, Meow. I can't wait for the next stream, Meow, so we can hang out and eat snacks together. It's gonna be a good time. Meow.
Totally forgot that I didn't we crushed the goal, but I didn't give the cats any of their stuff. So just remembered. Boss, you are looking fucking colossal today, bro. Oh my god. Look at this. Buff. He's jacked. Or fat? I don't know. Is that muscle or it feels like he's flexing, dude. I don't know. Leia's waiting. Bro is a unit. Yeah, you wouldn't know that Luna scares the shit out of him or bothers him anyway. I'm telling you, Boss still walks around like he's scared of Luna. Although you guys did see Boss and Luna battle together, like on the cat tower, and Boss won that battle. Luna was the one who ran away, so Boss is just big boned. Tarnish, you're saying, oh my god. Death Stranding 2 is the best looking game I've ever seen. Looks better than Shadow of the Erdtree 2. I mean, yeah, dude. Everything I've seen of Death Stranding 2, it looks like it might be the best game I've ever played graphically, or the best game I've ever seen, graphically speaking. It looks insanely good. Still no info, by the way. Still no info on the PS5 Pro. Like how it's going to run on the PS5 Pro, how much better it may look on the PS5 Pro. I mean, Horizon Forbidden West on the PS5 Pro is probably going to be pretty close. Horizon looks nuts. It's that Decima engine, dude. It's no joke. It is no joke. Amani B with a $2 super chat says FF sold more than 22,000 on Xbox. It was the top 10. Are Hey, what are you doing there? Are you sure about that? Are you able to source that for me or tell me where I could I don't think that's true, man. All I saw, the only reporting I saw, it got up to rank 7. All right, let me see. Hold on. And wait, that's for 16, right? Oh, Now boss he needs his catnip. Just so we're clear, we're talking about 16. Okay. We got both cats up here now. Uh-oh. You're saying it's true? Well, here's the thing. Oh my God, Leia. Leia's like, you know what? Screw this guy. Sorry. Got a little bit distracted there. Boss just got punched. Officially just booted up Death Stranding again. I got this. Well, here's the thing. If it hit the number 7 spot, how many? I mean, how do we know that it's still not at 22,000 units? Because that's the only that number came from an analytics firm that claims they have like the most accurate data. So I'm like, okay, either they're completely wrong, like just to a point where it's like you're not even remotely close, which how could they be that far off the mark? No, I didn't hear how they got their numbers. To be honest, I haven't seen anything else coming out about Final Fantasy 16. Let me see. See if I can find it. Oh, hold on. I'm not, dude, I can't find anything. Hold on. These are, they're estimating. Oh, they did it based on reviews. Oh, okay. So you're saying that was a lie. He was going off reviews in the store. Oof, that's not good. And to be clear, this is that analytics firm, Analita, right? I think that's what Analita Analytics. God, I hate that name. Are you telling me that's how they came up with the data? Because man, that is really concerning. Like, how are we supposed to take them seriously if that's how they're coming up with these numbers? Well, so what does this mean? Does this mean it did sell well on Xbox? And if so, does this mean Square Enix could actually finally? Although I'm not seeing anything else pop up though. What do you think? They said they got the numbers based on how many people reviewed the game. They said so on X. And then they deleted the tweet. Oof. Uh-oh. Somebody's in trouble, bro. If that's true, I think somebody's in trouble. Yeah, I saw that, Tarnished. I saw that. Well, hey, man. If Final Fantasy 16 did do better on Xbox than we originally thought, then that's good. That's good, man. I did say the day that I covered that news that I want to see Final Fantasy 16 do better. I think it's an amazing game. I think it's a game that I know not everybody is a huge fan of, because it's a different Final Fantasy, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's just always disappointing to see Square again, like every time. He's too flashy. It's a bit over the top, but I kind of like it. But yeah, I just can't help but wonder what Square's going to do for FF17 now. Piper, you're saying you just don't understand why people are so threatened by Xbox. They need to put out misinformation. Well, what's weird about that firm is that they've apparently been putting out a bunch of different data for specifically Xbox games. And it's like, geez, man, if that's how they've been getting their data this whole time, that's not helpful at all. And I feel like they just kind of came out of nowhere. So I don't know. And I don't think it's that people are threatened by Xbox per se. I think Microsoft is a threat in the industry. Like as a $3 trillion company, they are a threat to anybody and everybody. They're a giant, and it doesn't mean that they're going to be good at what they do, but they're a threat. Their money, their value, and their ability to make certain moves just based off of the amount of money they have makes them a threat, I guess. Microsoft is the Kraken. Leia's just doing her thing now that Boss is gone. They're only worth 2.9 trillion now. Damn. Only. MBG, actually, if you've been paying attention to the Final Fantasy fan base, FF16 is being overwhelmingly beloved by the community now. They've changed their opinions about it. Really? That's great to hear. I wonder what changed their mind. That's good news, though. I mean, Final Fantasy 16 is a really good game. One I could easily recommend. Some games take time for people to start loving it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's Death Stranding 1, That's a game that I think took a bit of time for more people to kind of get on board with it. That's why I'm so curious to see how this game reviews tomorrow, man. I'm so curious. I mean, I'm not going to really care ultimately whether it reviews high or low or in the middle, because I mean, I'm locked in. Like, it's not going to influence me, but I'm just curious to see. I'm curious to see how, like, what the reactions are, I guess, to how it reviews. If it's going to be higher than expected or lower than expected, or if it reviews about the same as the first game. And if it reviews about the same as the first game, like, what does that mean? It's going to do pretty much the exact same? Okay. Check out the latest post in the community. Oh God, Gaming Survivor. What are you doing to me, bro? I'm scared, man. Bro. Why do I look like the Doomslayer out there, bro? Oh my God. That's a crazy post, man. Yeah, guys, if you're not part of the community yet, there's a new community section on YouTube Mobile on the channel. Go check it out. Go be a part of it. Go check out some of Gaming Survivor's beautiful art. His AI generated art. Is Death Stranding like Elden Ring long? Thinking about trying it. So hold on, let me see. Death Stranding 1 completion time. If you Google it, it says about 40 and a half hours. That sounds about right. I mean, for me, I think it was a little bit longer. I think I was closer to the 50, 55 hour mark for completing the game, like just the main story. But I think that's because I was taking my time in some areas. But if you want to like 100% it, if you want to get the platinum, I mean, it took me over 100 hours to do that. So it's a longer game. I don't know that it's like Elden Ring long. I mean, I don't know if it's going to take like 70 or 80 hours. Or wait, how long is Elden Ring? Elden Ring's pretty long, right? Yeah, Elden Ring's really long. Elden Ring is like 90 hours, actually. It's a really long game. So, yeah, I mean, Leo, if you're thinking about trying it... oh, yeah, I forgot, Leo. You're 425 hours in Elden Ring and still haven't beaten it. ABG always try to be more positive, not toxic positivity, but always think that whatever point you're at in your life, think about how to get to a place where you feel better. To struggle, I know. Well, I appreciate that, Tarnished. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to just find the good wherever it is. How did I feel about the gameplay of Blood of Dawnwalker? So I only saw the gameplay trailer. I didn't actually watch the 20-minute gameplay demo. I'm going to have to check that out sometime soon. But I'm on board with that game. I don't know. What did you think of it? For those of you who've seen it, does it look good? The trailers that I've seen so far look really good. You could definitely see the Witcher influence, but I kind of like the angle of vampires a lot more. Leo, yeah, I saw like I think half of the trailer. I got to finish watching the entirety of it, but from what I saw, it looked really good. Over 2,000 hours in Elden Ring. Oh wow, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time in Elden Ring, dude. Feels like God of War. Dracula Untold. The Eastern devs are coming for the throne. I mean, it's great to see, competition kind of flourishing in the AAA space. I think they're talking about that that Chinese developed game, Blood Message, I think. Yeah, the other game, Blood of the Dawnwalker, I think that's like a European game. I mean, you love to see it. You love to see all these different single player games that look. You could tell like there's really talented developers working on them, single player titles. Am I going to play Death Stranding 2 on the PS5 Pro or the base? I'm playing on the Pro, for sure. You feel like with the Switch 2 domination, do you think it'll become more and more the defining baseline for devs to develop and showcase their games on? It's a good question. I mean, I don't know, man. It doesn't look like third party is taking off on the Switch 2, and I'm starting to really think that the Switch 2 is going to be in a very similar lane that the Switch 1 was in, where it's not going to be on the level of like PlayStation where it's going to get all of the third-party support. I think it will get a lot more third-party support than the Switch 1 did, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like I don't I don't think the Switch 2 is going to be as much of a threat third party wise as I thought it would be. Now it's early to say. It's really it's hard to say if that's going to turn out to be true. It's the early days, but I don't know. I expected there to be a bigger splash overall from third parties for the Switch 2, and I mean, it seems like all the biggest games that I'm excited for like are not going to be on the Switch 2. So, I mean, not talking about Sony games, but third party games. So it's like, I don't. To be honest, I'm thinking the PS5 is going to be the baseline, man, for a long, long time. I think that the base model PS5, I think, is going to be the baseline for a long time. And we do have that PlayStation handheld that's apparently going to be just slightly below the PS5. It's going to be above the Series S, above the Switch 2, but just below the PS5. So, yeah. By the way, guys, we're going to be wrapping up the stream soon, probably the next 5 or so minutes. Before we do, though, I want to say this will be like a last call for any fan funding. If you guys want to drop any more memberships, we're at 61 on the day, which is crazy. We crushed 2 goals, which is awesome to see. Thank you guys so much for that. If you want to contribute any more to the membership goal, now would be the time to do that. Any more super chats or direct donations, just want to throw that out there so that way nobody, I've had situations where people accidentally donate like as soon as the stream ends and can't read it till the next one. So, but yeah, I don't think the Switch 2 is something that Sony really has to worry about. To be honest, I'm starting to really think that Sony and Nintendo are going to be able to coexist, just fine. Oh, yeah, that video. What was the name of it again, Nobbin, sir? I forgot that fast. See if I can bring it up. ODC World. Okay. All right, yeah, let me bring that up. So I've never watched these guys before. The title of the video is hold on, the title of this video is PlayStation and Xbox after finding out the Nintendo Switch sales. So let's see.
Yeah, that's all there. That's Microsoft money.
Okay. All right, so what does y'all need? We need you to kill Nintendo.
What? Nigga, did you listen? That's not what we said.
Well, I think that's the fastest way to handle the situation.
Wait, but we're not gonna kill nobody. That's crazy.
Man, this Xbox looking soft as fuck. Y'all know you're
Okay, so right off the bat, bro, I love how the one dude's just wearing an Xbox jacket and the other dude's just wearing a PlayStation. It looks like he was wearing a PlayStation jacket. Sorry.
more.
All right, look. So they're saying the Switch 2 sold 3.5 million units in 4 days. Do you know how hard that is?
So y'all want me to kill Nintendo because y'all hating?
Kill? No, just follow them.
No, hold on, ain't nobody hating. These niggas is lying, and that's just me using my deduction skills. Triple platinum in a week? Who the fuck these niggas think they is, a damn nigga? We in a recession, bitch. Look around. That bitch cost $500. Mario Kart World, $90. I don't even know 24 niggas. Plus, PlayStation ain't never did numbers like that. And we've been grinding for years, nigga. PlayStation. Yeah, you heard that shit before, huh? That's us.
Yeah, I did hear that. I heard that.
I know you heard that shit. And Xbox, look what Microsoft, Xbox.
Man, that's not my slogan, bro. Come on, man.
What's up? I mean, I don't know their fucking slogan.
Don't do
Y'all
that.
got a,
You know we got a slogan.
okay, what is it? So this is what we want you to do. Follow Nintendo, see if they lying, and even if they not lying, switch them down.
No, just follow.
That's the Switch 3.
No, just follow them and investigate. That's it.
Xbox. See, that's what's wrong with you, nigga. You ain't made a good decision since 360, nigga. What you gonna do? Huh? Re-release Gears of War?
We just announced that, yeah.
Re-release Halo?
We did that already.
Okay, so what y'all need me to do? Y'all need me to follow Nintendo or kill them? Because, I need verbal agreement. Because...
Okay, well, we agree. Let's kill
Wait, hold on. Verbal agreement? I ain't never heard no gangster talk about no verbal agreement. And who voice was that? Hey, that's nigga cock.
Oh, man, wait.
What, nigga? Nigga, I got my Switch on me right now. Nigga, I'm ready to bomb shit right now.
Hey,
Nigga,
no,
right
this nigga an actor. This nigga's an actor.
Nigga, what's up, nigga? And my niggas got Switches on them. Look at them. Look. We ready.
Oh, I didn't even see them.
The fuck?
It's like demons.
Oh, they might be on something.
Oh, they from the underworld. They from the underworld. I can tell. They from the
Let's
underworld.
go.
Okay.
What you think?
Okay. Yeah, he good. I think he good.
Man, come on, bro. Talk to me, bro. So y'all need me to kill or follow? Which one?
Kill, nigga. Kill them.
Okay, yeah. Can y'all say it a little bit closer? I couldn't.
You said closer?
Yeah, closer.
He
Yeah.
said switch them niggas down and until don't give a fuck about no family friendly shit.
Cool.
Kill them.
And Xbox on off on that shit, too.
Oh, okay, man.
Yeah.
Hey, it's just us two left.
Nintendo, nigga.
What?
Bro, that shit, we can finish, bro.
Fuck y'all niggas. Should have trusted my first instinct.
Get on the fucking ground.
You said you had a switch.
Yeah, I still got a Switch. I got a Switch right here.
Oh!
What? Why y'all looking like demons? I could have sworn y'all was from the... Oh my.
Yeah, Nintendo, nigga.
Hey,
Yeah, I
shit,
told y'all.
corny,
Get
bro.
on the ground.
Dude, why y'all looking like demons over there? Okay, so first of all, I don't know if their video gets demonetized, but I'm pretty sure this stream's going to get demonetized to hell and back. Because that was, But anyway, I don't know, though. I might like... I think I like Mighty Keith's skits better, though, man. That was pretty good. But... Dude, I love the idea of the dude who is playing PlayStation being an absolute just like maniac that wants to kill Nintendo. And I love how like the dude they had playing Xbox is just like, man, we got a slogan. We got a slogan. And it's like, what is it? It's just like, I don't know. All right. Yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, I do feel like, in all seriousness, there's a level of accuracy with that video where, I mean, I don't know that Sony would be freaking out that much where they're like, we got to kill Nintendo. But what they were saying in the beginning of like, do you know how hard it is? Like, do you understand how hard it is to sell that many consoles? It's like, so what do you want us to do? Aren't I part black? Do I look part black to you? No. You like them better than Mighty Keith? They're pretty, yeah, it was pretty good. Although I didn't notice though if they I don't know what else they do. Oh, it looks like they just do a bunch of stuff. Like their last one was how LeBron and the other teams were in the locker room after getting out first round. They got one about GTA 6. Streamers are really the new rappers now. I mean, goddamn, this channel's huge. Oh my God. I didn't realize. Dude, they have over 7 million subs. I had no idea how Blade was when he found out his movie got canceled for the 4th time. So they're a little bit all over the place, but yeah, there's probably some accuracy in there, dude. There is no denying. I mean, I don't know about Microsoft, but Sony's very much paying attention to how well the Switch 2 is selling and trying to figure out what that means for the PlayStation 6. They do anime. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. They make skits on everything. They have a great Stickman skit about gaming devs. Dan, you think it still means nothing because they're making way less? Interesting. Well, guys, I think this will be a good place to actually wrap it up because we just hit the 3.5 hour mark. So we were able to squeeze that video in at the end there. Sony's not going to publicly admit we are very scared of the Switch 2's success. I mean, I think before I go, the only thing I'll say is I don't think Sony's actually scared of the Switch 2. I think the only thing that Sony would be worried about is keeping pace to some degree, sales-wise. Because it's true, like, Sony dwarfs Nintendo in terms of, like, revenue and money. Although I don't know if that's true for profit, but Nintendo still gets the most sales. I think Sony has to keep an eye on that. You know, that's something that they still have to kind of like, all right, well, we can't fall too far. We can't let them get too far ahead, right? We'll see. But, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's stream. That does it for Press Cross Button Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Spartan, you're saying a guy that has DS2 says the Pro will have a 120 FPS mode. Really? Yo. Did that just leak out? Because I was just talking about that a moment ago. How we still haven't gotten any confirmation of what we can expect with the Pro version. I would believe it though, man. $120 FPS mode for DS2. I mean, goddamn. Well, we'll find out soon enough, guys. We got the reviews for Death Stranding 2 dropping tomorrow, and then early access dropping the next day. And yeah, we got a whole week basically of Death Stranding 2. So I'm assuming by the end of the week I'll be giving you guys my my thoughts and my impressions of it. So I'm super excited, man. I've been waiting a long time for this game. Yeah, Ray, I never heard of them either. Give us an uncapped quality mode. Well, I'm sure we'll find out. But yeah, once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Before I head out, I want to give a big shout out to all the support that you guys have shown today. Again, 61 members, a lot of super chats, a lot of heavy support, some direct donations. We are totally fan funded. You guys make this content possible, and I'm extremely grateful for that. Thank you for allowing us to keep it sponsor free. And yeah, just a shout out to the generosity of the community. I also just want to thank everybody for watching in general, and I want to make sure to give a special shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the streams. So if you see Devil Shooter in the comments, show him some love, give him some thanks. I know he appreciates it, and he does a great job with those timestamps. So Devil Shooter, thank you for what you do, man. And yeah, so I hope to see you guys back here tomorrow. Again, we'll be covering the Death Stranding 2 reviews and whatever else may come out. And that's it. Please enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will catch you in the next one. So till then, take care, everyone. Oh, yeah, hit that like button as you're filing out.